in City Hall, you know? A lot of whiners and diners,
Yeah,
if you
it
ask
seems
me.
that way.
Did you think that it was strange that Andy had a boombox?
Yes and no. Because I bet because that's how he, like, recorded, like, he'll record.
Oh, you think he
mixed
records on
stuff.
cassette?
I feel like he has.
I think
it takes CDs too. It's a CD, and, like, you could have both,
Oh,
you know?
yeah. Okay.
And
All
I
right.
think he thinks that the sound on that is better than on, like, anything
Oh, you
else,
think he's one of
too.
those people?
Yes,
That's
100%.
like,
It's not a
you
record.
gotta record on cassette.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And, like, he
I could see
probably,
that.
or he made his mixed tape for Anne. Yeah.
Yeah, he made a mixtape.
I'm just saying, it feels right to me.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. I'm sorry. You're right.
Yeah, you should.
Makes a lot of sense.
Apologize.
I have to apologize a lot. You know what, folks at home? I apologize. I don't know what for yet, but I'm apologizing for it. Whatever it might be, I'm here to apologize. Hello, everyone. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Rachel.
Welcome back to Thoughts for Your Thoughts. No, this is Shelf Life, a podcast where a brother and sister team go through all things pop culture, no matter the genre, to determine whether or not the subject at hand belongs on your shelf. We go through walkthroughs to determine, at a grinding pace, what little intricacies can we dive into and get out of all the favorites and not so favorites of pop culture. Because, folks, when it comes to your shit being on the shelf, we are the absolute truth.
That's right.
Right, Rachel?
That's right. Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's right.
We determine it. We tell you. And you can take note and do what you want.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's right. Yeah. We're not... You have to take our advice and you have to do something with it. We can't force you to do what we say.
Oh, yeah.
We can just say that you should do what we say.
Right.
That's all.
Yeah,
That's all.
absolutely.
So, Rachel, we've come to this point in our journey here in Volume 5, our extra large volume, where today we are going to do Rachel's favorite thing, which is ranking episodes. Ranks are fluid and they don't matter.
There's something about ranking things that bothers me.
They're fluid and they don't matter, but people
It's
like
true.
to do
That's
it.
the problem.
People like us to do it. But we are also going to definitively say...
I'm just going to lie about
and
my
give
rankings
you-
from now on. Anything I say with rankings, it's not true. It's not what I
It's not
actually
true.
feel. You don't
It's
know.
bullshit. Yeah.
It's all a bunch
She
of
makes up-
bullshit. I
she-
make it up as
Ra-
we're sitting here, so...
Rachel makes up stories to bring attention to the real things that are happening in the
That's
world.
correct.
Which is what one
Sometimes
of
you
the vice
have to.
presidential candidates said. That's where we live. So, Rachel, what is up for contention? Will we decide has shelf life or not today?
We are talking about Parks and Recreation Season 1, the second half. So episodes 3, 4, and 5. 4, 5, and 6. Episodes 4, 5, and 6. Shut up.
That's right.
Shut up. Episodes 4, 5, and 6. Pick which one sounds better. I don't care.
Sideshow Mel. Sideshow Mel. Sideshow Mel. Learn from a professional, kid. Yeah, so we went through the first 3 episodes of Parks and Recreation earlier in the volume or in the last episode, so please see the back catalog for that. This is going to be episodes 4, 5, and 6, as Rachel said. So let's get right into it. We're going to start with episode 4.
The Boys Club.
Yes, it's Boys Club. Rachel, what is Boys Club about?
So Leslie has it in her head that there's like a boys club in government where just a bunch of guys hang out that are government people. And she tries to get into a club that happens on Tuesday nights in the, what's that called?
The quad or the courtyard?
In the little courtyard that's in between like all the little offices.
Mm-hmm.
It also goes wrong. It goes wrong. I just feel like that's all I ever say. This is what happens, and it goes wrong. This is what Leslie tries to do, and it goes wrong. Poor Leslie.
Yeah. It's usually something goes wrong. That's the office mentality, right? Where it's like something goes wrong. Leslie thinks, even though she's a nepo baby,
Yes.
got her job because of her mom, she still thinks that the rest of government is all a boys club, and it all is run by these little, the men.
I mean, she does show the wall of
favors for
white
each
men.
She does.
So
There was a woman. There was one woman on there. We already have a girl. What is that from? I can't remember.
Simpsons, isn't it?
I can't remember. We already have a girl.
We already have a girl.
It's gonna come to me like way later. Yeah, folks at home are screaming at us because I can't remember what that one was from. But anyway, yes, this is.
My instinct was to say Simpsons, so
That's true. I mean, when in doubt,
you just say the Simpsons.
The answer is Simpsons.
Yeah, you're right.
The answer is Simpsons.
Simpsons.
Let us begin. This is Boys Club. It aired first on April 30th, 2009, written by Alan Young, directed by Michael McCullers. And it begins with another cold open. This one is of Tom and Leslie having been called to a hiking trail because teenagers are taking the dog poop bags and having dog poop fights with them.
Oh my god.
And they're like, we don't believe it. This sounds like something where it's not really happening. So they think that this is going to be like a prank. So they go to the park, and then they see that, in fact, this is happening. All of the teenagers have taken, like, the dog poop garbage can, like, retriever thing, and they've taken all the poop bags out.
Yes.
And they are fighting with each other. So they're like throwing
whipping
the
it at
poop
each other.
bags.
It's so gross.
It's very gross.
It's so gross. What the hell is wrong with these kids?
Because they're kids. The kids are fucking stupid. If anybody has gotten anything out of it, it's that kids are dumb. And yeah, it's so gross, which I guess they can do because if they're tied off right, you can get away with it.
I guess. But my bigger problem is why was the Parks and Rec department called and not like the police department?
That's an excellent question. Yeah, why would someone call the Parks and Rec department? Why do they think that they're gonna
What are they gonna do about it? The kids aren't gonna listen to them.
You know what? It might have been like we called the police to tell them to get the kids to stop, and they just kind of said, well, is it I guess littering? So maybe they called Parks and Rec to be like, you have to go clean this up.
Oh.
Because we think that there's going to be a mess.
Because think about it. You're right. If the damn thing, if you whip it and how it opens or it decides to rip.
Oh, God.
Just saying, that's disgusting.
I feel they don't go that far.
They don't.
They don't show it.
Thank God. Gross.
But it feels like that would have been ultimately what would have happened.
Absolutely.
Right? Maybe that's the game. Maybe it's like
that's
whoever
the
actually
game?
gets whoever gets smeared.
Oh, smeared?
Yeah,
great. You're smeared now. Enjoy your
Tom
schmear.
Tom is like, I was going to go on a rant. I was going to do a bit and I'm not going to do it. I've thought better of it. Tom says, I'm not dealing with this. And Leslie gets their attention and then they start to throw poo at her. So she picks up a garbage can or a trash can lid to defend herself a la Steve Rogers.
Yes, very Steve Rogers-esque there. Mm-hmm.
And is deflecting. Someone do that. Someone go make an Avengers trailer with the Parks and Rec crew and then show Leslie with the garbage can lid.
Oh, now I kind of want to figure out who everybody is.
Ron is Iron Man because he's libertarian.
Okay.
So you have that.
Yeah.
Leslie is Captain America.
Yeah.
Because she is.
Yes.
April is Hulk. She's brooding.
That's true.
She's cynical about everything.
That's very true.
Andy is just Star-Lord.
That's also very true. Yes.
Donna is Black Widow.
Oh, she would love that. Oh, she'd be so good at that.
Yeah, we could do this all night, but who is Tom?
Ant-Man.
Oh, you're right. Not Bobby Newport?
I mean, Bobby Newport could be absolutely Ant-Man.
Yeah, but Tom does feel more like Ant-Man.
Yeah, because he would literally shrink down just to leave the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, he's not getting into the fight. He's just leaving.
We could keep doing this all night, and I kind of want to, but we probably should get back to work here. She fights back, and then because they're throwing the poo at her, she's like, fine, I'll show you how you like it, and she throws the poo back, and then she starts to having fun.
Yes, and then she's going, oh, this is actually fun.
This is actually kind of fun. So then she starts playing with them, and that's
whipping it at them, too. I mean...
If the bags are that strong that they aren't going to bust...
Just don't trust it.
It's like water balloon fights, but
I
with
don't
poo.
trust it. That's gross. That is horrendous. That sounds so awful.
Kids at home, try that out for
No,
yourselves.
no,
Just load
no,
up.
no, don't do that.
The worst that they're gonna get is shitty, and maybe get a disease
I
from the
guess
dog.
fine.
poop.
The kids can do it to themselves, but don't start throwing it at bystanders. My assumption is they were starting to throw it at other people walking by on that path.
Okay, that's shitty. No pun intended.
Yeah, very.
There was
very
I
intended.
intended that. I
Very
intended. That
I
pun.
could tell.
Jerry brings in a gift basket that they got from a construction team. And Leslie stops them from taking it. There's a bunch of wine and cheese in it. And she says, we can't have it because it's over $25 and it's not permissible to take anything over $25 as a gift as a public servant.
Mm-hmm.
So Leslie comes in and says, you can't take it. She says she'll lock it
I'll take
up.
all the bribes I can. I'm allowed to. I don't give a shit. Doesn't mean I'm going to do anything for you. I'll eat it.
Oh, yeah.
I'll take it. It's fine.
Folks at home, if you're in college, you're trying to figure out what you're going to do for the rest of your life. Be in a profession where you can take a lot of bribes. Clearly kidding. Satire.
Yeah, clearly.
Don't say it like that. That made
Well,
it
I'm
sound
sorry. I'm sorry if I sounded sarcastic.
Thank you. Thank you. This cuts to Tom doing a soliloquy where he talks about how he doesn't take advantage of his government power, where he's stealing a hot dog by flashing his Parks and Rec badge.
Yeah, he like goes to the front of the line and does that.
And he calls himself, he's like a brown Superman with a beard. April has made
a Superman, so he's not Ant-Man.
He wants to be Superman, not Ant-Man.
I don't think he would be Superman.
No, I don't see it. No.
I don't think he could.
No.
All right. Anyways.
April made a social network profile for the pit and for the subcommittee. This is like it looks like a fake MySpace, I thought, which would be semi-appropriate for 2009. Although I can't remember what Facebook looked like back in 2009 to say if it looked like Facebook.
Yeah, I could
It's
see
fake.
it being very MySpace-ish. Yeah.
Because I feel like Facebook in 2009 had more, and I'm not on social media, so I don't know if, I assume that Facebook has not updated in 10 years because of the fact that once these companies get into a groove, they just keep it that way. But Facebook in 2009 might have looked like this, but it looked very MySpacey to me.
Yeah. I think it's more MySpacey.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
I'm trying to pick up. Yeah, it still had the feed and everything. Yeah, it looked more MySpacey. So they made this big deal about making a social network page, which makes sense. Like, you're trying to gain traction into what the Parks and Rec department is trying to do here. Leslie, being Leslie, has made has put a ribbon around her monitor.
Yeah. Which is kind of
big
cute.
Unveiling.
It's kind of cute though.
Yeah,
You'd think they would have
right.
put it on like the big screen then, but at the same time, it's kind of funny. I like it.
Yeah, it is funny because Tom goes, "Can you cut the ribbon?"
I probably
now?"
would have
And she
made a
goes,
digital one. I would have made a digital ribbon for the website
Yes.
to cut. Anyways.
Yeah, folks at home, you don't know this, but every time when we first put Shelf Life's pilot episodes onto the internet, Rachel tied a little bow around her computer while we uploaded it, and she cut it, and that was our big ceremony for Shelf Life going live.
Mm-hmm. We had a little confetti going.
Had some confetti going.
Yeah.
I passed out, and then when I woke up, I was like, "Is it okay? We didn't break the internet or anything." We popped some champagne, all sorts of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And then nobody listened to it. Anyway.
But you listen to it, listener. Dear listener. You're listening to it.
Yeah, those people that have been with us from the beginning.
Oh, there's a shit ton.
Yeah.
They are a part of
Continues to grow.
There's a group of them.
And you are
We have our little cult.
They find Mark's profile on this social network site because he's friends with the Pit.
The Pit.
Well, whatever it is. I don't think they made a profile for the Pit, but they made a profile.
Sounds like somebody
Actually,
did.
Maybe, I think they
sounds like
did,
somebody did make a profile for the Pit.
Yeah, I think that is kind of what it is. His profile has what on it, Rachel?
Women.
Which we discussed last week.
Women and partying. Because he's kind of a jerk.
He's a man slut.
He's a man slut. Yeah, all right, fine. We'll go back to it. He's a man slut.
He's a skanky,
He's
as
a very
Anne called
skanky
him.
man slut. And it's like obvious with these pictures too, yeah.
There's a bunch of hot girls in it and stuff like that. his favorite movie is Dances with Wolves. That's what April got out of it. That's what she thought was funny, that he put his favorite movie as Dances with Wolves.
I mean, it is kind of
You think that gets some chicks?
Maybe?
That's what...
I don't know.
Do I need to change that on my dating apps, that my favorite movie is Dances with Wolves? Folks at home, let me know if I should try that. I'll do that for like a month and see if it has any update.
Now we're just playing games.
They ask where Mark is because this is like the subcommittee meeting, and Leslie goes, he's in a meeting of the old boys club, and points out to the back that there is a bunch of city council... Oh, so first Leslie explains the wall of city council members, like you said, which is just a bunch of guys.
Yes.
She thinks that they're actually wheeling and dealing, but in reality, it's just a few guys having beers at work. I like the conversation that happens that they show us.
Yes.
To give us an idea of what happens, where one guy's like, my wife bought this shirt. She thinks it makes me look slimmer. And Mark just goes,
it does.
It does. Like, I like that, because it's showing that what Leslie thinks it is, it really
isn't. It's just a few dudes drinking beers.
And even when Leslie and Anne go out to... She's like, we're going to go infiltrate the boys club. They're immediately greeted with beers. They're immediately like, yeah, join us.
Right.
Like, there's no indication that, like, any of them are like, oh,
somebody just brought some beer and said, let's drink.
The one guy in this I recognized, Rachel, is the Miller High Life guy. I can't remember his name, but did you recognize him? The big black guy?
Yes. He does look very familiar. I feel like I've seen him in a couple of things.
I can't remember if he's in any more of Parks and Rec, and I hope he is, because I always liked that guy. I know he died, R.I.P.
Oh, did he really?
But I hope he... Mm-hmm.
What do you know him from? I guess could I look
the
up
Miller
this
High Life
specific thing? Parks?
Look up Miller High Life commercial guy. Wendell Dwayne Middlebrooks Jr. Wendell Middlebrooks. He died in 2015. So he might be on more Parks and Rec. I don't remember if this character ever comes back. He doesn't say anything or anything like that. He was just in the background.
What else was he in? Is that why I know him? So
he was on The Sweet Life?
Yeah, that might be why I know him from watching, like, because it's just that face you, like, recognize.
Right. Hannah Montana.
Yeah, all those, like, silly kids
Oh, this
shows.
is the only episode of Parks and Rec that he was on. He was on a few episodes of Scrubs.
Yeah.
It's Always Sunny. So he was on a few
I love
things,
that
but
he's
he
just
will
like that
be
face.
The Miller High Life guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I actually kind of enjoyed it was very simple humor, but I enjoyed it when Leslie immediately spills a bunch of the beer because she leans onto the table and and the case falls off. That was good. But they're all getting along after that. They don't even really blame Leslie
no, they're
or
just
anything
like, well,
after she does
just clean it up. Who cares? Yep.
Yeah, and they're all having fun. They're having a good time. And Leslie even says, "Am I part of the boys club?"
I kind of feel like I'm already in the boys club. I mean, look at those bitches clean up after me.
Which is actually a pretty clever line from Leslie for what she
Yes.
thinks she's accomplished.
Right.
Anne calls Mark out. She's like, hey, we looked at your profile and you have all those girls with the tribal back tattoos that drink Red Bull for a living, which is a really good way to describe those girls. You know exactly the type of girl Anne Perkins is talking about when she describes those girls as having lower back tattoos and drink Red Bull for a living.
Yeah. I think you do. I think you can.
There's nothing wrong with those girls.
No,
girls out
that's
there that
fine.
drink Red Bull for a living.
You do your thing.
Call me. That's fine.
I don't like Red Bull, though. It's gross.
I don't like Red Bull either, and I'm sure that this will not be a long-lasting relationship. But still, you're fine. You're fine. That's fine.
Right.
You're never going to end up beating Rachel. If you meet me, you probably won't ever meet Rachel. That's just the bottom line.
Interesting.
Yeah, I would never date a girl like that. I'd hang out with a girl like that,
That's
probably,
fine.
Maybe. Rachel.
I love that you just can't commit to it. You're like, yeah, I would totally be friends with them, maybe, possibly. Be fine. We could, passing. That's okay.
Can't commit to it. Can't commit to anything. Leslie is very Michael Scott in this scene. This felt like a rejected Office script. This felt like something that Michael Scott could have done, where he could have been in New York and been like telling Dwight, we need to get into like the old boys club. Like
Right.
that's the key.
Yeah.
Even because Leslie is being like, oh, come on, Mark, come on, like hit her back. Like she's trying to encourage what she thinks they do. when they're like in their like boys club,
Mm-hmm.
I could just see Michael doing that.
Yeah. I see what you mean. It makes sense. It like fits, I
April
think, in this situation, but at the same time I see how it would fit with Michael. Yeah.
April needs to be picked up by her sister, and she says, "Natalie, come pick me up. I'm gonna start drawing all over your jeans." And she's already been
has. Just
coloring all over them.
scribbles galore.
This is just to set up that April is stuck at the office.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. She's stuck and can't get home.
They run out of beer. Leslie doesn't want the party to end, though, because she's having a good time, and she decides to go and get the wine from the gift basket in desperation.
Dun, dun, dun. Yep. What are they gonna do with it anyways? Like, send it back? They say thanks, but no thanks? Like, what are you supposed to do with it? They left it there.
So. Yeah, what would you do with it? I guess you would send it back.
There's a deleted rude scene to send it back. Yeah,
it would be rude to send it back. I guess you could donate it. You could use it for like some sort of donation.
I could see that. Yeah, like a raffle.
Or yeah, like a raffle. Like they should be. Yeah, I was about to say, could they do a fundraiser for the pit? But that doesn't make any sense. So like, I guess they could donate it to some other cause.
Everybody's excited. There's wine and cheese.
It cuts to Leslie giving a confessional video where she says that she violated the ethics code. So
yes.
She's like presumably set up her own camera to like do a video, or she's asked the mockumentary crew, or she's just doing, if you believe in my headcanon theory that this isn't really a mockumentary, then she set up a camera to give a video.
She totally set up a camera. Even with the crew, she set up a camera.
She still set up her own camera. Yeah. She apologizes to every congresswoman in alphabetical order, which she probably didn't need to do because some of our congresswomen have done way worse ethical things there, Leslie.
Yeah.
Just gonna say.
But she does not do those things. How dare you?
No, she does not.
She never does anything wrong.
She believes
she's
that
Leslie Knope.
She's Leslie Knope. Yes. Anne is working a double shift and asks Andy to clean up. And he says he'll try, but don't expect much. And then she says she'll do it when she gets home, because she, like, leaves. I think he was just playing her, though, because the second that she, like, leaves the door, he, like, whips out a garbage bag and starts to clean up.
I think he was saying that, too, just in case, like, it wasn't as good as she wanted it to be. Yeah, and then he wanted to surprise her that he was actually going to do it. So, I mean, like, this is actually kind of a nice thing that he's doing.
I'll give it to you. I think it's kind of twofold then, because to me, when we talk about Andy acting like Andy, this is the most where I feel like they were like, oh, he's too nice. Chris Pratt is too nice. We need to make this a better character. Like, he can't be so one note.
Yeah.
Because he is very Andy Dwyer in this.
Oh my God.
Doing the cleanup, the way that he's doing the cleanup. Like doofus.
Oh, like not an absolute
not like
doofus.
Not like mean, lazy boyfriend, but doofus.
This is like a sweet guy that is just an absolute doofus. That's kind of what he comes across in this episode.
Yeah. So the arc is already happening with Andy.
It's like you kind of can see why Anne likes him, because he's like a sweet guy in this one. Like, why else would she be with him otherwise? Like, what are you doing?
Right. Why is she with this doofus?
Why are you with this doofus?
You, Andy Dwyer, are the doofus.
Yep, that's every time we say doofus, that is what I'm thinking of.
That's so
every time.
I can never hear that word and not think about that particular scene. Doofus. Leslie brings the gift basket to the table and admits to the department that she used the wine and cheese, and they all are giving her shit for it.
Yes.
And Jerry says that she wrote him up for making calls to his mom
who was sick
while she was in the hospital.
And she said she would do it again.
Like, I do it again. It just shows you how much of a stickler Leslie is.
Right.
And Donna, speaking of acting like themselves, Donna asking for this basket.
I loved it. Can I have the basket? I don't know, put some potpourri in it. Like, I'm like,
love
her so much.
Like, she's like, it's a nice basket. And they're like, what are you going to do with it? It's a big basket.
All the facial expressions she's doing.
Yes. It's because of the facial expressions. It's Retta putting so much into these, like, 3 lines
she gets
that is
to
not
these
even
3
there.
crappy lines. And she's just like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna
Yeah.
play this shit as hard as I can.
Yeah. So she says that
great.
she's gonna put potpourri in it. I don't know. And Tom's like, that's a lot of potpourri. And she goes, I'm not the one on trial here, and like points back at Leslie.
Just with her eyes. She points with her eyes. It's
yes,
wonderful.
It's so Donna. Like Retta. Yes.
She's
like
my favorite.
This is the moment where like Donna Meagle becomes a character to me. That she still has that weird beehive hairdo.
Yes.
But at least now it's like Donna Meagle.
Yes.
Like I can see it.
I'm so glad she has her personality.
Ron wants the story in an email because Ron comes in and is like, what is everybody talking about? Because like they say like she's going to go to jail or whatever. And Ron's like, what are you talking about? Who's going to jail? And Leslie's like, I have a very long story for you, Ron. Leslie like walks into his office. Ron goes, could it just be an email? Like he's like,
Yes.
oh God. Like it's
Like, I don't want a long story. I don't want to deal with this.
Ron is still playing Scrabble.
Of course.
He's got Scrabble up on his
As
machine.
he should be.
Which I liked.
Yeah, I do like the continuity.
Continuity is overrated, but I appreciate it when it's done well. Get into that later.
All right.
About in another episode.
That's
of Shelf
fine.
Life. Leslie's giving the entire story, and she's of course making a big deal about it because she's Leslie Knope.
Right.
And Ron says, you know, this is not that big of a deal. And Leslie says, oh, you just don't think it's a big deal because you're a man with a full mustache. She says like a white man with a
Yes.
beautiful full mustache or whatever.
Right.
What do you suggest we do? You think we should cover this up?
No, I'm not saying that. No one said cover up.
Good, because the cover-up is worse than the crime. When you spill something and you try to wipe it up with something that's dirty, then you get double dirty.
Please don't make this worse.
And she's like, should we cover it up? And he's like, no, I'm not saying we should cover it up. And she looks at the camera and says,
Like,
no
nobody's saying
one
the word
is
cover
saying
up."
cover
Yeah.
up. She like starts to walk away and he just goes, please do not make this worse. So naturally she's going to make it worse. She does another
course.
confessional.
Yes, she does another confessional.
She adds on, she says Ron refused to do it, so she is sending a link to the entire government. She's sending like an
Oh
email
my
saying that she
God.
did the entire government.
Why would you do this?
Like, if you want to do anything, I guess just go over Ron's head if you feel so inclined, but why would you send
Ron
it to
is her
everyone?
boss, right?
Yeah. So, like,
Okay, just
Ron
say
is
I'm
the one that
sorry
has
to
to...
Ron.
Right. And if Ron thinks that it's a big deal, then Ron is supposed to do something. Like, if there was a
Right.
victim in this case, or if Ron thought that he
right.
could get in trouble, then he could go above her head.
Yes. But she's
But-
whistleblowing on herself,
She's whistleblowing on herself.
which is the stupidest thing you can do.
Yeah. Yeah, for something this small. Like, folks at home,
Yes.
do not do something, in all honesty, do not do something to get in
Stupid.
trouble. Do not do something
Yeah.
stupid. But if it's like
But
something
then don't do
that-
something
don't
stupider
blow
after
something
you
out
do
of
something
proportion.
small.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Andy has got 3 bags of trash. He hurls them into the pit.
Yes.
And on the other side of the pit,
Oh
a
my
neighbor is
God.
doing the same thing.
And they just wave at each other.
April uploaded a video of herself drinking the wine at the office when she was waiting because she was bored and she was waiting at work. So she had nothing to do. She opened up one of the bottles of wine and she just started drinking it and posted the video.
For some
And
reason.
For
Posted
some
the video.
reason. No, she gives a reason, Rachel. Leslie asks her, why did you do this? And she said, I don't know, I was bored and my hair looked good. So she uploaded it.
Right.
And Leslie realizes that this is going to be a big problem because she's 19.
Oh, of course. It's
and
underage
the-
drinking.
It's
Which-
underage drinking.
I had a thing with this part. With we know
Okay.
Jerry. Like, okay, I know going forward into the other seasons, but I feel like Jerry wouldn't be smiling and laughing at this video. I
Yes.
feel like
Yes,
he would
it was out
act
of
like
character.
a dad in this situation.
Yes, I agree. I thought it was out of character.
I thought it was very out of character that he's just like laughing that this is so funny that she's doing underage drinking and then posted it to the website.
Yeah, I agree. Because he's acting more like...
The other two,
Uh,
sure. But Jerry,
Yeah. Yeah. Because he's acting more like... Jim O'Hare, the actor. Like, I could see Jim O'Hare, like, because he seems like a big kind of bubbly guy, kind of
Yeah.
being like, oh, that's funny.
oh,
like,
it's so
yeah.
silly.
Ah,
Yeah.
jeez. Yeah, Jerry, especially with his 3 beautiful daughters, I could see him being
Yes.
like...
A little bit like
April,
a
you have to take
dad,
that
and then
down.
just
Yeah.
going, "Shut up, Jerry!" Like that's what would
Yeah.
happen.
Yes, yes, yes.
It would just be a "shut up, Jerry" situation,
Yeah,
but
so
he
a
would
lot
have
of
acted more like
character
a
there.
dad.
Tom and Donna, I could see though. It's interesting that she's playing 19 years old. Do you want to guess how old Aubrey Plaza was, Rachel?
23, 24.
25.
All right, I was close.
You're close. You're close. But she was a lot older than she's playing because she's
Right. She looks
19.
younger. She still looks younger.
Yeah, she still looks younger because like now, because what would that make her now? 40? She's 40.
She's 40?
She does not look 40.
Okay, I would have guessed 40, but I guess it has been that long. But oh my god, okay.
So because of this, Leslie knows that this is going to be a big deal, and Ron walks in and he's just like, Leslie. So like you know it's a problem.
Yes, because now he has to deal with this.
Yeah, Ron is all pissed and he goes, I asked you not to make it worse, and you made it worse
because she sent a link. That was the biggest. That was the part that made it worse. I don't know if we said that. She put a link in her email to the website where
April
we have April underage drinking
in the office.
In the office.
In particular, it's because it's in the office. Yeah.
Right. Well, it makes it worse. Yeah.
It makes it worse. Ron says that a disciplinary committee will be having a meeting where they could be fired, meaning April and Leslie could be fired because of this.
Yes.
And Leslie starts having a panic attack and like goes over to the bench and is like, oh my god, oh no, and like starts like having a fit, and Ron attempts to comfort her in his way.
Yes, he does.
He like doesn't want to like touch her or anything.
Right.
He's not like quite sure
like
what
hovering.
to do.
He does a little hover moment.
Yes, he does a little hover. She gives yet another confessional. In this one, she can't stop crying.
I mean, is she just doing these confessionals for her? Where is this going? Like, where are these going? Is she posting these? Is she just holding on to them?
She's saving it for if she needs to
make a statement to the press.
Yes, exactly.
You're fellow correct. Americans, here's my...
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I do like the crying. I think it's funny the way that like she's crying.
Yeah, because she's having a panic attack and freaking out while doing her thinking she has to make another confessional.
Mm-hmm. Tom tries to prep Leslie for the committee and uses it as a way to tease Leslie if she ever had fantasies about Ron. Like he starts with normal questions, and then he's like, "Okay, how many sexual partners have you had in the last year?" And he goes on this like rant. Now, first of all, a couple of things that he asked about the fantasies with Ron was did he put you on a couch shaped like his mustache, or like that looked like his mustache? I think is one of them.
Something was like looking like his mustache. Yes.
And then in another one, was he covered in Powerade? Which I did not. I didn't get that one. I don't know where he came up with that, but all right.
I feel like he's just letting us know his own fantasies. Like, do you also think of Ron this way?
Tom sees Ron in his fantasies covered in Powerade.
Yeah.
He ends it with a "Thank you for your time. You're fired." And then he stands up and says, "That's the worst case scenario. So if you can handle that, you're fine." So in his weird way, Tom, I guess, was kind of helping her.
She was trying to be helpful by being really pushy and awful and saying that's worst case, but if you can handle it, then you're good. Like, just relax and do what you need to.
They tolerate Leslie in season 1, right? Like the rest of the department tolerates her. They don't respect her like they do the rest of the series.
I think so. Yeah, I think you're right. This is more of a tolerate versus a enjoy being around, like friendship,
So I could see where he's having some fun with her, but at the same time, it's like, Leslie, I'm going to do because I know you're freaking out about this, so here's like the worst possible thing that could happen to you. And if that's
not what they're going to ask you.
Yeah, so like if you can handle that, what do you care? Because like that's as bad as it could possibly get.
Right.
So like in his own way,
and that is a very Tom way of doing things.
Yeah.
So it makes sense, but he usually does it nicer.
Yeah. So I was like, that seems kind of all right. That seems in character enough.
Mm-hmm.
It starts Ron has to go with because he needs to. He's her department head, so he doesn't have a choice. The little bit is very slow. It's a lot slower than Parks and Rec usually is, with her saying, "Can I get a glass of water?" and knocking it over, and it like being very awkward.
Yeah. But I think that's why it's drawn out, because then it's awkward. It's more awkward the way it's drawn out.
No, I get that. And it's funny because it is like so awkward. It just felt so much slower paced than Parks and Rec usually is. There's a deleted scene, I think, where it goes on for a while, where she like does it again or something, or like knocks another like cup over. It felt like Amy Poehler was trying to get them to break. Like
she was trying to get them to laugh.
I think she was trying to get them to making
it even more awkward. Sure.
Yeah. Leslie has a prepared statement. Ron looks so pissed off about this. Leslie says that she was invited to the boys' club, and Ron is they're like,
elite exclusive
this
club.
is elite exclusive
How dare you?
club.
And they're like, what are you talking about? What club?
And Ron just goes, some of the city planners like to drink beer after work. And they're like, no one's allowed to drink alcohol on the city grounds.
Yes.
And he goes, it's not my department. He's just like,
yes, not my department.
I don't know what to tell you. Like,
not my
why
problem.
are you telling me? I don't fucking care. Yeah.
Yep.
So she continues to go to the April part, and she ends it with like a feminist note about saying that she thinks that one day April will get to join this exclusive club, and it won't be a boys' club and all this stuff. And one of the guys on the disciplinary committee asks her, like, well, you did open the wine, right? And Leslie does like a very performative like slamming of her fists, like, do not blame April. Like,
yeah, this is all my fault. I did this.
Like she had it planned. Like if they asked something about April, like she was gonna slam her fist.
Yes.
Back at Anne's, Andy says that he has one thing left to clean, which is what, Rachel?
He needs to shower. He needs to bathe himself because he probably has not done that in a very long
he
period
can't
of time.
go in a shower because of his broken
He
legs.
can't fit in the shower, I think is what he says, because of his broken legs.
Yeah. So what is his solution?
To bathe like his parents bathe his dog in the front, in the yard. I'll say
in
like the
backyard.
yard. Yeah.
Yeah.
In a big swimming pool. Well, a swimming pool, a kiddie pool with soap and water, completely naked though.
It's
like,
not real soap though. It's like dish soap. It's
I
like
think
Dawn.
he uses dish soap. You're right.
Yeah.
I think he uses dish soap. Yeah. This is where his boombox is.
This is where the boombox is. Yes,
It's a
and he is
massive boombox.
completely naked as well.
Yes, and we only know that because now the neighbor comes over and tells him to shut off the music, and he refuses, and then
Shut up,
steals the
Lawrence.
boombox. Yeah, he steals the boombox.
He's got a bad song playing on it. It's like something that he wrote for
It's
Anne,
his song.
and
Right.
it's really bad. Andy gets better at playing in the band too,
Right.
as the season progresses, or as
Yes.
the series progresses. So Andy decides he needs to get the boombox back, and
So
he
he just
chases
immediately
Lawrence
gets up.
through the streets.
Yes, completely naked.
The best part of that, well, first the best part is that he does this rollover to get out of the kiddie pool,
'Cause he
and like
can't.
they
Yes.
imply that his taint is just out, his butthole is just pointing north towards
Yes.
the sun,
That's right.
and then the little dot, like the black circle,
Yes,
like they purposely
do,
make
they
it
do
this
a
black
pixelated
circle.
blur around his midsection, and then they have a little black dot in the front.
I thought that was very amusing. I thought that was very Chris Pratt,
Yes,
circa 2009,
right.
and it was very Andy Dwyer.
yes.
It was like that scene in Hook where Chubbs or whatever the kid's Marbles or whatever the kid's name is does the peel back and goes, "Oh, there you are, Peter."
Yes.
That's what this was with Andy Dwyer. It was, "Oh, there you are, Andy."
Oh my god.
That's a reference, Rachel.
Yeah, that's an interesting reference. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, that should be a thing. Like when we find that moment, if like a character starts off as being not what we remember, and then like, oh, that's like when it clicks into place. It's like,
You gotta
oh,
squish
there
back
you are.
face.
Yeah. Beck, for that scene I wrote in my notes, very amusing, very Andy.
Yeah.
Back at
It's also a very
hearing.
silly side of B
Yes.
story, but
Very
still,
silly B story, but I liked it. I liked this one.
Yeah, this one shows Andy being a little silly and nice in a
Yeah.
way. Yeah.
Back at the hearing, they ask Leslie to go over the timeline once again, and Ron is super bored, and he just goes and like groans
Because
like
they want to keep going
like a
over it.
bison. Yeah, and he stands up for Leslie here now. Well, okay, so he says,
Yes.
"You cannot make her whip herself or wear a hair shirt. I want to live in America. If you want to live in North Korea, go ahead. But this is America."
Yeah.
Now, Rachel, you can say that the instigation of him doing this is because he was bored. And I would completely agree with you. It's because he was bored. It's because he was like...
Because he
"Oh
just,
my
it
God."
went on too long.
Yeah. And if he would have stopped it there and just said, like, that's it, we're done, I would say it was absolutely because he was bored.
Yes.
But then he goes on,
Leslie has never broken a rule in her life to the point that it's annoying. If you want to slap her on the wrist, go ahead. If you want to do anything more serious, you're going to have to go through me. Let's go.
We done?
We're done. Let's go.
And she's all excited that he stood up for her.
Yes. This might be like the first time like Leslie is like, I can go to Ron.
I think so too. Yeah. So Ron tells her that she's going to get a letter in her file, and she like smiles at this. And when she leaves, he smiles too, and then notices that the camera or the audience is looking at him and stops smiling. So I think, Rachel, that he actually kind of...
Because he did. He thought it was dumb. He's
Leslie.
like, oh, come on. He was like oh, come on, this is stupid. This is so minor. And you guys are treating it like it's like way more than that.
And if you're going to do this to, like, if anyone in this place, you're going to do this to Leslie, no. Like, it almost seemed like he was, like, offended.
Yes.
Do you understand who, like, this is the person that cares the most.
Yes.
And you're taking it this far.
Like, if anything, go get Mark, go get Stanky Mark, who brought his buddies every Tuesday are drinking on your property. You
That's
know?
right.
Like, come on.
Son of a bitch. A deleted scene from this is Leslie asks, is anything going to happen to April?
Ah. Oh, yeah. We don't even...
Yeah, because it just isn't in the episode. Like, this doesn't matter after this. And Ron says that nothing's going to happen to her because her uncle knows one of the big guys at the city. And Leslie looks at the camera and goes, Old Boys Club. That would have been nice to keep in.
That would have been a good one to keep in. That would have been perfect.
It would have explained why April is there. It would have kept the theme of, like, there's some nepotism or, like, knowing people to, like, get into some of these positions. And it would have explained why nothing happened to April, because she was underage drinking at work.
Right.
And she's just an intern. You could easily get rid of her.
Yeah, that would be kind of goofy. Part of me was like, was the bottle actually not open and she was just pretending to drink it the whole time? Because that would have been funny, too, where it's like, well, we found out that the bottle of wine was never actually opened.
Ron...
So she had to take down the video, and that was about it. Like...
Yeah. We actually... Oh, that would have been a nice... That would have been a nice twist. Yeah, that the bottle never was actually open.
She's like, oh, it was never actually open. I never actually drank anything.
Yeah,
like, I didn't have a bottle opener.
Or it was an empty bottle, and she, like, put water in it to be funny or something. Yeah.
Because it feels like a very April thing to do.
That does. See, you're punching it up, Rachel. We should work on punch up.
Thank you.
Go back in time. Go back in time and fix that. Ron says in a soliloquy that his idea of government is one guy at a small room.
My idea of a perfect government is one guy who sits in a small room at a desk, and the only thing he's allowed to decide is who to nuke. The man is chosen based on some kind of IQ test, and maybe also a physical tournament, like a decathlon. And women are brought to him, maybe, when he desires them.
I'd kind of like to see who would win that. If you just, like...
It would be so interesting.
I would really enjoy seeing that.
Because you have to win the IQ test.
You have to win the IQ test and the decathlon. Yeah.
I like it. You know what?
I like that.
I agree.
I don't disagree.
I think I agree. I'm okay with this. Can we change the whole system right now?
If that's how we had to choose our president, might be okay.
We might have different candidates, I think.
Yeah, I think we would. One of them would have a fucking heart attack just doing the first part.
During the IQ test.
Our country's a joke. So anyway...
Oh, God, it's upsetting.
He also adds, and women are brought to him if he desires.
Yes, of course.
Which I also like. Anne asks
women
Leslie
could be brought to her, too, whenever
whatever.
she desires them as well. It
or
makes
men.
sense.
She can have her concubine.
That's right.
Whatever. Anne asks Leslie how it went. She's like, it went terrible. It was like the worst day
of my life. Yeah.
And Anne's like, why did you do it? And Leslie comes up with, like, she wanted to shatter the glass ceiling. And then she's like, well, really, I did it for a guy. And then she says it was for Mark, because she has this crush on Mark. Mm-hmm. And admits that they had a brief affair in the February of 2004. So even then, it would have been 5 years ago at the time of the episode.
Yes. I do also like that Anne pretty much fakes surprise, because I'm pretty sure she was...
Oh, do you think so? Yeah.
Part of me thinks it was fake surprise. Part of me is like, oh, okay, you're like telling me now, like,
I don't know
guess
if it's...
I guess that's, oh, okay.
I thought it was holding back saying she thinks Mark is sleazy.
Oh. Okay, that's fair. You know
Because
what?
the next-
I think you might be right.
Because the next thing she does is is a soliloquy from her saying, "Smart woman, iffy choice in men, but I'm one to talk."
Right. Which is funny.
Yeah, because she.
Yeah,
she does,
maybe you're
it's funny
more
throughout
right.
the series.
Because I think
Yeah,
she
that's-
probably
that's
already
my
knew you had a crush
interpretation.
on him, but like maybe she didn't know that they had an affair type of thing.
Yeah, she probably didn't know that they actually slept together.
Right.
And then it's not wanting to tell your new friend he's scummy, but
Yeah, I
not
guess-
wanting to say it.
I don't know. Okay, so you say new friend. Are they at friend point for Anne yet? Because I feel
agree.
like it's still kind of like, oh, I'm just
yes.
helping with the
She's
pit. And now you're telling me who you're sleeping with.
I once saw a comment online. It might have been like a forum for Parks and Rec where somebody said like, "Oh yeah, Anne's her best friend," and someone responded, "Anne is not her best friend. Anne is a project. Ron is her best friend," which I thought was, by the end of the series, I was like, he's right. But I think you're right here. I think
Yes.
they're not quite friends yet.
They're not quite there yet, at least on Anne's side.
It's still a shared project that the two of them have.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
so
think
then
at
you're
this
right.
point it's a project, and maybe Leslie's looking at her more like, well, you're like my girlfriend though, because we can
yes.
talk about these things.
Yes, and Anne being the way that she is would be like, whoa, I did not need to know that.
Yes.
Anne comes home to a clean house, and Andy is in a
And
button-down
you know what?
shirt.
Andy is cleaned up well. The
He's cleaned
bath
up.
in the yard worked.
Yeah. Did you notice that everyone's hairline gets better in the second season too, compared to this?
Does it really?
I think so. Like, Ron's hair isn't as poofy. Chris Pratt's hair is a lot more flat, and which makes sense because of like what, if he bathed out back or whatever. But
Right.
it seems a little, further back a little bit.
Sure.
Tom's hair is like a bowl cut. It's interesting because like the same thing happens
That's
in The
true.
Office where they like all get better hair.
Yeah.
I'm like, why is the second season of all of these shows does everyone like get a glow up?
I guess it's just because it's like we've been talking about this, where it's like they're kind of coming into their character, and so they're
Yeah.
trying to figure out.
They're
Okay,
trying
well,
to
the
figure out
haircut doesn't
what's the
really work for like
haircut,
the
what's the-
style
Yeah.
or like whatever. So maybe that's just what it is.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. I just thought it was interesting because to me, it looked like, Chris Pratt has had different haircuts over the years, especially like nowadays and all of his like. But I was like, that doesn't look like Andy Dwyer's hair. But it's also because he's trying to like, make it look professional or whatever. Andy says someone is getting laid tonight, and Anne admonishes him for saying it. I think he says somebody is getting gently laid tonight because with his
Yes.
broken legs he can't really do
Oh,
anything.
right.
Mark comes into Leslie's office with a beer and tells her to loosen up. And she says, like, I'm going to get a letter in my file. And he says that he has 7 letters in his file.
Of course he does. Of course he
He's
does.
like, everyone has letters in their file. Well,
I doubt
his point,
that.
He makes a fair point where he's like, if you're going to worry about, like, every little bureaucratic thing and getting, like, a letter in your file, which really doesn't mean anything at the end of the day, probably, you're going to drive yourself crazy. Now, that rule that you broke is pretty, easy to follow, but I could see where there are certain places where there's just a million little things. I mean, Mom has talked to us about like interacting with different government services at her or one of the jobs that she had in the past.
Yeah.
And how big of a stickler certain people were when she would have to like interact with them. And she was just like, I can't yell at them because they're right. They're doing their job. It's just a pain in the ass because you have to do it all in a very, why do we have to do it
formal,
like
very
this?
weird fashion.
They clink beers and Leslie says she's in the club now because she got a letter.
Yes.
So she thinks she's in the club.
And so she goes and tells the boys on the wall.
Yeah,
the
that's
club
right.
Now.
Yeah, she
Except
tells
for the
boys
creepy
on
guy
the
who
wall.
looks at her boobs.
Which I wish that the picture did look a little more straight at Leslie's boobs. It doesn't.
Yes.
I wish it did a little bit more. And that is the end of Boys Club. Rachel, what did you think of Boys Club?
I liked the character stuff that we had going on here, like with April, with Ron, and how he protects Leslie. I do like all of that. I like Chris Pratt's character of Andy feeling like Andy more in this one as well. I mean, overall, it was just kind of like a silly episode of wanting to fit into like, government groups,
Yeah.
so you could feel like you're actually doing something and not being excluded or out of it when you want to actually do something good in the world type of thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was alright. It was alright.
This is one of those for me where I was going to come in and say it's too cringy. It's a bit too Office. Like,
It is a little
for
cringy.
what Parks and Rec should be to me. And then as we were talking about it, and because we were talking about like those character moments for Andy and Ron and stuff,
Yeah, it's the character moments.
I warmed up to it a little bit because of that. But I think
The
overall, as an
overall is
episode-
very cringy.
Yeah. Like the overall, it's like something I could spot check those scenes to see Ron standing up for Leslie, to see Andy being more Andy. But it is a little too cringy overall, probably.
Yeah.
To be like high on the list for me.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
But yeah, it's another. I feel like we've been saying it this whole time with Parks and Rec, where it's like it's all right, it's fine, it's got its moments, and maybe that is just because like that's what the first season is. But yeah, that's how I kind of felt about it. But you and me talking about it, I was like, oh, I'm warming up to it a little bit because of the
Yes.
characters.
And I think because we're also coming back to it and knowing
Knowing what
the
happens,
characters move and develop and what comes of it. So I think that also adds to looking at it that way.
Right. Which for the purposes of shelf life, when we're talking about rewatchability and things like that, I think we can take those into account more so than, if you were just watching this the first time, you'd be like, this is kind of cringy. It just feels
it's
like
a little
The Office.
cringy. It's a little slow. It's a little too office-y, but yeah.
So that was Boys Club. After the break, we will get into the 5th episode of Parks and Recreation, which is
Banquet.
Ooh,
The Banquet.
I like a good banquet.
Oh yeah, it'd be kind of fun to go to. Get some good food.
Get some food at the banquet. Just have to deal with people. Yeah.
Yeah, the people is the worst part. Well, that's the worst part of everything. But yeah.
Hire very good building company for your construction needs, or do not. I am not a beggar. End of commercial.
Doodle-doo, 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 doodle-doo. Doodle-doo, 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 doodle-doo. Alright, here we go. We're back with another episode of Parks and Recreation here. This time, it is the penultimate episode of volume of season 1 of Parks and Recreation. Rachel, what is the name of this episode, and what is this episode about?
We're going to be talking about episode 5, The Banquet, which is about a banquet that the government puts on, and her mom, Leslie's mom, is getting an award.
Yes. I will not remember the name of this. It is called... What is this called?
I also don't remember the name of the reward or the banquet.
It's named after somebody, and it being Parks and Rec, they have like a weird name, and now I can't find the damn thing. It's like the Tellinson Award. Hang on, I've got it somewhere. Yeah, the Tellinson Award. That is what the episode is about. Marlene, Leslie's mom, is receiving the Tellinson Award, which is like a lifetime achievement award that the city gives to some of its civic employees, I guess, after so many years of public service and all the good that they've done.
Good,
so
quote unquote.
Mm-hmm. So let's get right into this one, Rachel. This episode debuted on May 7th, 2009. It was written by Tucker Cawley, and it was directed by Beth McCarthy Miller. First things first, let me start out by... Well, I guess... All right, let's start with the cold open here. The cold open is Leslie is climbing a hill in the woods.
Yes.
And she mentions that somewhere in this spot that it was the murder of Nathaniel Bick, a pioneer.
That's right.
Who traded the Wamapoke tribe a baby for what is not today Indianapolis.
Sounds a little crazy.
So they tracked him down and killed him and ripped his face off into a dream catcher, and they did a bunch of other stuff with like his bones and things like that. And then Leslie goes, that's what's so great about the Native Americans. They used every part of the pioneer.
I mean, it's a good joke. I like it.
I like the running gag in Parks and Recreation that the Wamapoke, the pioneers would constantly try to screw over the Wamapoke,
and the Wamapoke
would know know what's up.
We know what's happening. Screw you guys. I like that.
Yeah, it's a great, again, the world building in Parks and Recreation, really second to me only to like Springfield and The Simpsons. Just the way that they flesh out this universe and this town is very well done. When we come back from the opening credits, Leslie is explaining that her mom is getting the Tellinson Award for public service, like we said. There's a deleted scene, Rachel, that I watched on the DVDs that shows Leslie is getting tickets for everyone.
Oh.
And they're coming up with reasons why they can't attend. So Donna says that her dog died, and she gets everyone +1s too. So like Jerry says his +1 can't make it, and Tom's like, nope. And Ron says, no, I'm not going to give my ex-wife a +1. So that's why they just kind of go around the table, and that's how Anne is able to get a ticket because she has extra
she's
tickets.
like, that makes
so
sense.
That's why Anne shows up.
That's fair. I also just kind of feel like Leslie at this point is already going, Anne's kind of a friend at this point, and she has a lot to do with the government now, so I feel like she should get to come. And she wants to show off.
This episode really increases and solidifies Anne and Leslie's friendship, I feel. It goes... I might have mentioned this on the previous Parks and Rec episode, where it's like Ron is her best friend by the end of the series. But
I think Ron also realizes that she's his best friend.
Yeah. They aren't now, though. They aren't at this point. But I do think that Anne was just someone to help. And this episode really solidifies them as friends.
Right.
I think. Like, you feel a lot more of their kinship.
It's kind of like an awkward friendship at this point, but yeah, it's like a friendship at this point.
Leslie explains what the Tellinson Award is, and that he was like some guy that worked for the city at some point in time, and that he was a great man. He's a great man.
He's still alive.
She's happy that they're keeping him alive.
Keeping him alive.
Her mom and her are like at Leslie's house or at her mom's house, and they're like chilling on the couch eating chocolates. And her mom actually tells her how proud she is of Leslie for putting on the public forum that we saw a couple episodes ago. And we talked about that, Rachel, how we thought that like it's an interesting dynamic where like the mom is actually good at politics.
Yes. And
she's encouraging of Leslie, even though it felt like Leslie fucked it all up. Mm-hmm. But the mom is like, no, this is how these things go, and you get back. Like, it's nice that was reinforced. That it wasn't just something that like, no, Marlene truly does have hope for Leslie, even if she thinks that like
she's prideful of Leslie and stuff like that too. She knows like, no, I want her to do well, and she might be a bit weird, but
she does think Leslie's a dork.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's not
Leslie
this one, it's the next one that she, like, even says more about that. So we'll get to that one, but... Mm-hmm.
Leslie thinks that they could be a powerful political family like the Kennedys or the Bushes, minus the drinking problem.
No disrespect, of course.
Yeah, no disrespect, of course. She says to the camera and or us.
Yes.
That one felt more like... the camera was there, but why would they be just filming Marlene and Leslie at home?
I'm wondering if is it at home or is it in Marlene's office and she just has this really fancy couch?
Oh, it could be in Marlene's office.
Because I'm wondering if it was like her office. It's hard to tell. They don't zoom out from the couch enough for us to see, but it's just like, here's a fancy couch. So I'm like, oh, she has an office.
Ron thinks the only reason anyone will go to the banquet is because how much of a hard ass Marlene is. And you could tell that he doesn't like Marlene. He probably gave Leslie the job just to appease Marlene.
Probably.
Just to be like, all right,
I bet that was part of it.
Give Leslie the job. Like, leave me alone. Yeah.
Right.
He gave her a nickname.
It's his proudest moment.
I can't remember if they shield the lips so you can't tell either.
They do. Yeah.
So I was going to say, can you tell us and figure out what the nickname is? It's clearly like way too long to be anything really, but it's the Iron Bleep of Pawnee. And I'm like, what could that possibly have been? And I was hoping that the Wikipedia would have been able to tell us, but it doesn't look like anybody's figured it out yet.
Like, it's the iron... I mean, he called her a hard ass, so it could be like just the iron asshole of Pawnee, or...
Which would be a good nickname, the Iron Asshole. It would be.
It would be. I just love his face after he says it. Like he's
so proud of himself.
I want that Ron Swanson giggle that we get later. That
yes,
I want that, but it's like you can tell he's holding back.
Yeah, it does feel like a giggle could be there for sure.
His eyes are sparkling. He's ready.
Leslie's going to give a speech at the banquet, so she's having Tom dictate a speech to write it for her. This must have been, and he's doing like a bad version of it.
Oh,
like
God,
every time
horrible.
like Leslie says something, he like comes back and he's like, "Oh, Marlene is obese," and she's like, "I didn't say that. I said she was my mom."
Yeah, it's like
so
that's very different.
They must have thought that this was going to be like a running gag that
where
they
she
thought was
constantly
funny.
has him dictate for her.
Yeah, because this is like the second time they've done
is.
in the season.
Yeah,
And
but I could see where Leslie would be like, you know what, I'm just going to start writing these myself. Like...
This one's funnier, though, than the first one, because I do really enjoy the bit where Aziz clearly improvising, because they put in, like, 4 different things of, like, she has 5 Asian friends, and she does this.
Yes.
How about this? Marlene Griggs' note is definitely not a whore.
No.
Marlene Griggs' note has not 5, but 7 Asian friends. Marlene Griggs' note has never solicited a male prostitute. Marlene Griggs' note has said the N-word only 4 times in her entire life.
No.
She said it more than that?
More? That's very funny.
Yes.
That's a good bit, and it feels very Parks and Rec-y,
Does.
but just too slightly cynical. A cynical side of it instead of that hopeful, optimistic side of it.
Right.
But it still felt like Parks and Rec. He also tells her that Abraham Lincoln used to get up and be like, I'm the president of the United States, but I don't know what I'm doing. So, you should be humble and you should say something like that to start the speech. And Leslie says, so I should just get up there and be like, I am the assistant director of Parks and Recreation and I don't know what I'm doing. And he's like, yes, absolutely.
And I'm just sitting there
He's
going,
trying
no. Don't say that.
They definitely well, we'll get to it when we get to it, because I was expecting a lot of cringe from the speech. I was expecting to have to back out of the room.
I don't want to have to watch this part.
I just don't do good with cringe comedy. I don't.
No, it hurts. It just physically makes me like
I get embarrassed for the fictional characters.
I hate that. I have too much of that where I feel embarrassment for characters.
Anne is trying on dresses. Andy thinks that it's hot. He asks her why she doesn't dress up for him like that, and she's like, well, I'd feel kind of silly putting on a dress to go on the couch. Rachel, I'm going to say this blanket statement, and this is, of course, Shelf Life Kevin saying this kind of statement. Rashida Jones, Anne, is ridiculously hot in every scene in this episode.
Oh, yeah.
I don't
She's
know
so
why.
beautiful. Mm-hmm.
She is so good looking in every scene of this in this episode in particular. I don't know if they just found the right dresses and stuff for her.
Oh yeah, they probably just had really nice fit. That's probably what it is. I do feel bad that she didn't get to wear this black dress because I thought she looked so pretty.
Yes. Yeah, she looks really good in this one.
Yes. The next one looks like a prom dress, but this one looks just so pretty on her.
She's talking about how she hasn't gotten to go out in a long time because of the fact that Andy's got the broken legs, so they really haven't done anything. She doesn't really know Marlene or anything, but she'll take a night out on the town because she's been stuck inside all the time.
Which is fair, understandable.
As she's doing this, Andy asks her for some milk with his, what do you call that?
With the claw thing?
Yeah, like the extender
The extender
hand
claw,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah. Because Anne is asking, how formal is this? Because she's trying to make sure that she, is going to look okay. She would have been too dressy in that dress, too.
No, that one would have been fine. It's
Don't
a little
you
black
think?
dress. Little black dress is fine.
All right.
Easy enough.
I thought that one would have been a little more formal too. Like it wasn't like I feel like cocktail dress, but like a classy cocktail dress would have been like the thing. And this was more of like a dress like like you're going to go to like a wedding was the black dress.
Sure. I don't know. I feel like that could be considered a cocktail dress too. She could also have put on like a blazer or like a little like shawl or shrug or something, and that would have either zhuzhed it up
fashion folks. I am a man in my mid-30s that lives alone, and I'm pretty sure that I've worn the same outfits for at least 15 years at this point.
There you go.
So, what are you going to do?
That's right.
If anyone wants to donate to Shelf Life to get Kevin a new wardrobe,
we'll do a what not to wear episode for Kevin.
Yeah. Calling back to our Doctor Who.
That's right. Just no robots.
Bad Wolf episode. Well, if there aren't any robots, then I don't want to do it.
Okay, fine. We can have a robot.
Okay. So Anne is asking Leslie this, and she says that the Tellinson, I'm going to keep saying Tellison because it's hard to put that N in there, but the Tellinson Awards are like the Oscars and the Grammys and the Super Bowl all rolled into one. So she should dress up.
Yeah,
so
she
Anne's like, oh,
really
crap,
makes this like the biggest thing in the world.
Well, because it's Leslie.
Of
like
course.
At this point, Anne should kind of know
Yes.
that Leslie is hyperbolic, and she should probably think like, oh, I can tone it down. Like I don't have to do that. But
I would assume, or at least ask one of the others. You know, like.
Yeah.
You have enough. I think you could ask somebody. Yeah, just be like, is this like really fancy or?
Yeah.
And they'd probably be like, nah, business casual.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Leslie goes to the old barbershop across from Town Hall. So apparently they shot this on location at a barbershop in California that is near the studio or like across from the studio. And this little note that's on the Wikipedia, Rachel, was so specific. I was like, I don't even remember seeing this.
Yeah.
That the director would go to this barber shop with her husband, and the barber's wife was always outside. Like, it was an old barber, and the barber's wife would always be outside, like, chewing sunflower seeds. And they say that that's in this scene, and I don't remember that at all.
I have no recollection of a woman eating sunflower seeds. I don't know how. It was just like a bunch of old men.
I don't believe that this Wikipedia entry is
false.
It feels
to
like
me.
it's not real.
Or it's a deleted
I don't know if
scene.
it's real.
Maybe it's a deleted scene that she was in it.
Wasn't in the deleted scenes in the DVD. Did they go to the barbershop in any of the deleted scenes? I don't think they did. I don't know. I don't believe that.
I think it's all lies.
Regardless. It's lies. It's slander. Folks at home, if you have access to the Parks and Rec Wikipedia page, make sure to cite that. Is it cited? Hang on, let's see if it's cited.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Apparently there is a citation. Let's see.
Ooh, okay. This is a deep dive with Shelf Life.
Oh, it was on the audio commentary.
Oh.
Which I did not.
Okay. So it's on the audio commentary, but there is no woman eating sunflower seeds.
Okay, so maybe they put it in and then it just didn't make it into the cut or something.
That just seems so weird to me. I don't remember seeing it.
No, I don't remember seeing
it. At all. There is just a bunch of old men at a barbershop.
And that's what Leslie says, that this is like where all of the politicians come to get their haircut. Leslie doesn't put two and two together, where it's like I mean, she clearly, like, at this point knows that, like, politics is like a boys' club.
Yes, because we did boys' club.
Because we did boys' club. She's not putting it together that, like, this barber and, like, they all go here because they're all old men that are in the politics, so they all go to this barber.
A barber who does men's cuts.
Clearly only knows how to do men's hair.
Right.
Very clearly. His name's like Salvatore. I do like when they show the
He doesn't seem to give a shit, though, that she's a woman. Like, he's not saying anything. It's just like,
she does not
whatever.
Care. Yeah.
Yeah,
he does not care.
No, he doesn't care. Like, he's just like, yeah, this is fine. Whatever you want.
Yeah, just like this old put-upon barber. Like, she even sits in the chair and she's like, you know, what's up, Salvatore? And he's like, my feet hurt. Like, he just is not.
And he's just like, do I even know you?
I think that this guy comes back, and it's just a really good character of just this put-upon, like, does not give a shit barber. I like that they show the picture of him when he was, like, younger, and then they, like, show him now, just to give you an idea of, like, how old this barber is.
Right, how long he's been doing this for all the the politicians and everything too.
So he asks Leslie what he wants him to do with the hair, and she says, just something sassy, but powerful and dynamic.
Yes. Which sounds like somewhere you'd go for a salon, not a barber.
But she thinks this is a political, her first political speech.
Sure.
But that's the naivete here, right? Like,
yes.
Not putting two and two together, Leslie, which that's also kind of part of this episode too, is her, again, like losing some of that naivete and putting things together about like how this stuff really works. It is in there with what her mom ends up telling her later on.
Right.
I did not remember, because I remembered this episode. Remembered it being the one where Leslie gets the haircut. But I was like, I don't remember like how much of this is just the banquet. Because the banquet comes pretty quickly into this episode.
Right.
And I forgot how much isn't about Leslie's hair. It feels like...
That does feel like a big thing, but at the same time, it's not.
It's just a driving force for part of the jokes.
Right.
But it feels like, not that they should have done this, but it feels like a television show could have made an entire plot about people thinking that she looks like a man.
Absolutely.
Like, that would have been some show's entire plot line is, she looks like a guy because she got the hair done up that way.
I can see it in some sitcoms with a laugh track, and it would be obnoxious. It would be so like, oh my god,
That's
can we get
all it would
over
be.
this? But like, at
my
least
boss thinks that I'm a lesbian,
Yep.
or my boss thinks that I'm trans, or
Right.
a cross-dresser, something
Right.
like that would have been the entire plot. Yeah,
But instead,
And
it's
this
just
is
like
just-
there's a few like jokes, and then moving on.
yeah. it's more like because it's so like more striking.
Yes.
And then there are a few gay jokes, and then
Right.
it's just kind of a driver for Anne and Leslie's relationship.
Exactly. I think it's more so
actually-
just like there's the gay joke between them, and I mean Andy also goes, "You look like a man," but
Well, even later on when Anne very funnily says that she's Leslie's trophy wife.
yes,
Because like that's how she feel. Because I think she feels like Andy's using her, but she also feels like Leslie's using her. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yes, it's definitely more of a drive for the relationship.
April sees Leslie first at the banquet. Rachel, what does Leslie look like here, and what is April's reaction?
Leslie has a men's cut. It's a pixie. It looks like a pixie.
It
cut.
is a pixie.
I think it's all
almost Hillary
pinned up.
Clinton.
Yes.
Yeah, she's just as pinned
It's kind
up.
of like
she's not like she
pinned up
got the cut.
into a very, very short, like right at the ear line,
Yep.
little poof. It's not even like her mom's hair. It's the way it's shaped is very
The way it's shaped
manly.
is like a man's.
Yes.
Yeah.
And of course, she's also wearing a suit that also buttons all the way up to her neck and everything. So she almost looks like Ellen DeGeneres. And then, well, she kind of does. That's kind of like how the face.
Yeah,
I think it's the face structure and everything.
It's the Ellen, like when she wears like the
Yes.
shirts up.
Yeah.
Yes, but the hair is more like a man's.
But more of a man's
part.
cut. Right.
Yeah.
Because it's like flipped to the side. April's reaction is just these wide eyes. And then calls her sir.
Yes. April says, "Hello,
Good evening, sir."
Which is funny. And Leslie's even like, "Oh, April, we're not on the clock. You don't have to call me that." Like she doesn't even think the whole time. This entire
Well,
episode,
it gives her power being called sir, so I think that's okay.
Yeah, Leslie does not care that people think that she looks like a guy, which
No.
is kind of refreshing too. There's
Yeah.
no part of Leslie
Feeling
freaking out about the
embarrassed
fact that she
or
has this
anything.
hair. She thinks that it looks awesome.
It empowers her. She feels so
Yeah.
empowered by having this hair, and that she's like, "Look at everybody's looking at me. This is great." That's her empowerment right there. Is her hair.
Leslie says that the barber calls it the mare, I think. And that is and then she's gonna have the same haircut when she's the mayor of Pawnee.
It's ridiculous. It's very silly.
Anne walks in.
In a
What does
prom
Anne
dress.
have on, Rachel?
Bright,
Yes.
bright,
Yes.
hot pink prom dress.
She looks great.
Oh yeah, her hair
But it
is
is like a
super
prom
curly
dress.
and cute, and I'm always one for a fringe. Love the bangs. You know, she's got a little poof going
I don't know
on.
what that means.
The
Okay.
bangs, Bangs.
Oh, gotcha.
That's why I used both words. But yeah, it's like a floor-length prom dress.
They're all staring at Leslie and Anne because of the haircut.
And
There's a
because
deleted
she's
scene-
like holding her arm. Like they
Yes.
are like in a prom picture.
There is a slight deleted scene where they walk in, and Anne says something. Oh, it's like maybe you shouldn't say like we're a couple. I can't remember what it
She
is,
probably
but
says-
like it's something.
Well, maybe she says like my partner because they're partners in the project.
Yeah, it's like something like that, and Anne is like, maybe you shouldn't say that. So she's trying to hint at it at Leslie. There's a little more disgust on some of the people's faces in the deleted scene as they walk in, and they kind of like drop that entirely.
Yeah, I
from
feel
the
like there
final
shouldn't
cut.
be discussed. It's more like a what are you wearing?
In
Like,
2009,
okay,
like,
fine. In 2009, I can
Indiana?
expect it. Yeah, absolutely, I can expect it.
Yeah, I could see some like.
But it feels
Oh,
more like, oh,
lesbians.
she is wearing a like. Why are you wearing that gaudy dress? Like that's what it feels
That's
like.
what it comes off as more. That and
Yeah.
like, what is the hair
What is with the haircut
cut
on
on
Leslie?
Marlene's daughter? Yeah.
Right.
They're all staring at them, and Leslie gets starstruck because there's some councilmen over there, and she tells Anne that they're in rarefied air tonight. Anne, the dorkiness of Leslie is more charming in this episode
Oh,
than it's been in
absolutely.
some of the other ones.
Yes.
One of them comes over, and it's some former city councilman, and calls them brave, and wishes that
He could also be
that
brave.
he also had that courage.
And I'm like, oh, that's kind of sad. That's just sad for him then.
Yeah, so the
Because that
joke,
means
of
he's in
course,
the
being that
closet.
he's closeted. Yes.
Yeah.
And he thinks that they're lesbians.
And he's just so proud that he's like, good. I'm happy.
I wrote
Good for
down
him.
Anne is very reluctant about it after this, and I don't know what I meant by that. What happens after he comes over that she would be reluctant? It must just be the look on her face.
So she makes a face. She's like biting her bottom lip, like,
Okay.
and then
yeah,
Leslie
okay.
like pulls her
which,
like by the
by the way,
hand, and
first
she
of
looks
all,
at the
hold
camera
on.
like,
Oh yes, okay, that is what it is. So she jims the camera.
yes.
She does the bottom lip thing. Rachel did a flawless impression, by the way, Rachel.
Thank you.
Yes, I want the folks at home to know that Rachel did the biting of the bottom lip thing just like Rashida Jones does for
Yes.
6 seasons of this show.
I got it down. I'm glad.
Ron is there in probably so far my favorite
Oh my
Ron
God, I love it.
Swanson soliloquy.
It's all because of the food. It's all the food.
I enjoy government functions like I enjoy getting kicked in the nuggets with a steel-toed boot. But this hotel always serves bacon-wrapped shrimp. That's my #1 favorite food, wrapped around my #3 favorite food. I'd go to a banquet in honor of those Somali pirates if they serve bacon-wrapped shrimp. Excuse me.
Did we ever get a ranking on the
I
foods from Ron?
assume. So hold on. I assume it must go bacon, steak, shrimp, burgers.
That's what I was it could be eggs. Eggs could
Ooh,
be number 4.
eggs. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think you're right.
And then
I think
ham,
steak has to be
probably
number 2.
a little lower, but
That's a good trivia question. If any of
I
you are
love
doing a
that.
Parks and Rec trivia night, what is Ron Swanson's #1 and #3 favorite foods? Bacon and shrimp. And he says that he would go to a banquet for the Somali pirates if they served bacon wrapped shrimp. Great line.
it's great.
Very good line.
Oh yeah.
So Leslie shows up to the table with Anne, and Tom says that, "Whoa!" and says that,
Wow. Everybody's kind of like dumbstruck, jaw to the floor look.
even Jerry, because Jerry isn't a doofus,
Yes.
isn't the village idiot yet. Like
Yeah.
he even is like looking around like at April, like, oh my god, look at Leslie's hair. And Tom says that, Anne, you look great. But Leslie's
Wow.
like, I know, right? Like she
That's what I was going
She-
for. I was going
she-
for wow.
yeah, like that's what I was going for.
She's so proud of herself.
Ron tells Leslie that her hair looks like my brother. He's in the Air Force. As he's got a giant plate of shrimp.
I was gonna say it's the opposite hair of Ron's. Like
Yes,
Ron's
it
is curled the other, like it's part of the opposite of hers, and hers is just a little poofier.
Because I think Ron goes to that barber. I think we find out the barber eventually dies in like
Oh,
one of the
yeah.
final seasons, and Ron is like torn up about it because he's like, I only go to this barber. Like, he
Right.
doesn't talk to me. I give him $5 or whatever, and that's the end of it.
That would make sense then.
So yeah, it is like a Ron's haircut because that's what that guy does.
Right. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I do like that he says, like, bacon wrapped shrimp. And then
Oh yeah, Anne is like,
Anne is just like, no
thank
thanks.
you."
And he's like, I wasn't offering. He's just saying it. He's just saying bacon wrapped shrimp.
Yes, he's just saying like they've got bacon wrapped shrimp. Like, you can go find your own.
Yeah,
this
go
is
find
my
your own.
plate.
This is mine.
Yeah. Only I may eat. What year are we gonna get to that episode so that I
no
can say only
idea.
I may dance?
3 years.
I put
4.
Leslie gets excited because behind her, don't look, behind us is Janine Restrepo. She's from the zoning board. She's the one that we would need to be able to get the pit rezoned into a park so that we could build the park. So this is like one of the steps that's needed for her, one of the hoops she has to jump
It's
through.
all that networking.
Which, like, and it makes sense because like this thing would have been zoned for residential because they were like supposed to build condos or
yeah.
apartments or something on it.
Absolutely.
So to get it to be zoned for a park, they would need to change the zoning, and you would need to pass the zoning board.
We know all about that because we play a lot of City Skylines. And in
That's
that
right.
one, you have to rezone areas. It's true.
It would be interesting if that game had a function where you had to get it rezoned. You couldn't
Oh my
just change it.
God. Could you imagine if, like, you could get it where it would randomize something and it would be like, we want to have this section rezoned, and it, like, pops up and goes, do you want to rezone this area? Like,
that's one thing I think that they-
you create your own board and stuff.
Not to go on too much of a rant about City Skylines, because we do love that game.
Great.
But I think it's more of a builder, like, be creative than, but they could add on an element where you could flip the switch on and off, and the switch could be like deal with city politics, and like exactly what you're saying, where it's like you have to deal with zoning boards and you have to deal with more crime or like economic policies and stuff, because once you get to a certain point, you're fine. Then you just have to worry about traffic,
Right.
which Rachel and I have stumbled upon in a city we were building. We
Don't even
can't
want to think
figure out how
about
to
it.
get out of it. That's why we need a Mark Brandanawicz to
I think
help
we
us
do.
get through.
Unfortunately, I think we do.
The one table has all the living winners of the Tellinson Award at it, and she goes over their names, and I absolutely love
my
it
God, it's
when she
so
goes
great.
through all of their names, because they come up with a little name for all of these characters, and they're all ridiculous names. I didn't write any of them down. I'm just going to put the clip in.
At that table are all 8 living Tellinson Award winners. Burt Winfield, Jeffrey Morgelsberg, Quentin Arbel, Don Krink, Michael Holloway. I don't know who that is. That's somebody's wife. Horace Rangel, Wilmer Visum, and Oscar Fortmiller. Wait, Oscar Fortmiller's dead. That's his disappointing son, Theo. Another dynasty.
But my favorite part is I don't know who that is. That's somebody's wife.
That's somebody's wife. Yeah. This little building of small town shit is great as like this little world building stuff with like all of these, just there's no reason to give us all of these characters and they don't really do anything. It just
No.
helps to make it more real
Yeah.
or like more full. It's
Yeah.
a fuller world.
The town
It's
feels
Dune.
actually lived in. It feels like there's
Yeah.
history.
It's
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 Dune.
Tolkien or Game of Thrones, you know.
That's
It's
right.
that like there's just stuff here. This is just all of this history. She says that if a bomb went off in here, it would definitely make the Indianapolis papers. Mark is telling Leslie that she's overthinking it. He's sitting between Anne and Leslie.
Which
I wonder
is
if that
weird.
was strategic by Anne, so that they didn't look like too much of a couple.
Oh, I bet she was just like, I'm just going to sit here. And then there
Yeah,
wasn't a
like
spot for Leslie to sit next to her, so she
Yep.
just moved over. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think happened. He's telling Leslie that they can practice talking to Janine Restrepo because, again, Leslie is a woman child. She gets nervous in these social situations. At the same time, she's super... It's very strange. I guess it makes sense, though. It makes sense when you think about it. She gets nervous about it when she has to do something important, but she's also super, 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 super extra...
She's a left brain
extroverted?
only child.
Yeah, like she's just
Is
so
that- is that what I'm
extroverted,
thinking?
but at the same time, yeah, she's like awkward about it.
Right.
So, and I think she's somewhat self-aware to know, like, she's not as self-aware as she ends up being, but she's self-aware enough to be like, I don't know what to say. So Mark is like, well, we'll just practice. So, of course, being Mark, he decides to like grab her nose to be funny.
Right. I think it's to be funny and to be like, this is the worst thing that could happen. When
The
she's
worst
gonna
thing that
grab
could happen
your
is she,
nose and
like-
say, I'm in power, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So Anne grabs Mark's nose
Which just makes this even more awkward.
and then says something like, I'm, city councilman, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And I have more power than Janine Restrepo, member of the zoning board. I just love that they always say her full name.
Yes, it's always the
entire
full
time, too.
name and like their position and what they do.
And then Leslie grabs Anne's nose and they all laugh. And Tom going, the hell are you guys doing? It's so good.
It's great.
It's so funny.
Yes.
So there's a quick cutaway to a Mark soliloquy where he says, pretending to be zoning board members is fun.
Because he's just making fun of people.
I thought it was supposed to be the moment where that's where Mark first turns and is thinking that Leslie and Anne, because they're like more intellectual or goofy, that they have a lot more to go with them than like the type of women that he normally goes for. I think it
Okay.
was supposed to be like some sort of spark. That's what I got out of it. They could have gone further with it, or at least led you with a couple more breadcrumbs. But I think that they do that throughout this episode when we get to the bar and stuff.
That's fair.
That's what I
fair.
think was happening.
That's fair. I just took it as he likes to, make fun of people. That's all I took it as. Is it's like it's fun to make fun of
That's-
the people in power.
That could have been it too. But to make fun of the people in power, maybe. But you have a much less.
I just don't like him.
You just don't like Mark Brandanawicz.
I don't.
So you are always like, no, fuck this guy.
It's
Sucks.
true. He does suck. So yeah, that's true.
Can you imagine it? Now remember, Rachel, they toned down his unlikability.
That's what I was thinking when you told me. So Kevin tells me that they toned down his unlikability in this one. How?
The first script that they wrote, they thought he was too unlikable.
And I'm like, what do you mean? He is unlikable. Was he just a villain? Was he a serial killer? I don't understand.
Hey, some of those serial killers, Rachel, are very charismatic.
Oh, very. And it just makes me just very paranoid with anybody who's that charismatic.
Leslie goes up to Marlene and she says, oh, you got your hair cut. And Marlene says, I thought that Salvatore only does men. And Leslie's like, well, he made an exception. Like, thinking it's like a big deal. Like, hey, he cut my hair.
Right. Like
and
he only
doesn't.
will do like important people. So he did mine, see?
Leslie's like, here's Anne, and Marlene's like, oh yes, Leslie's new friend. And Anne goes, that's right, friend. Yep, just a new friend. I'm a friend. I have a boyfriend. He's a man. 'Cause she knows what's going on.
Of course.
And she doesn't want Marlene to get the wrong impression.
Yes. So she goes a little overboard with it.
Leslie tells her mom that Janine Restrepo is there, and
I love this. This is
and Marlene
great.
goes, Janine Restrepo, queen of the zoning board. And there's a cutaway to Anne going,
Am I the only person here who doesn't know Janine Restrepo?
It's so good.
And
it's so
it
good.
might be is it the first time that they bleep somebody out on Parks and Rec? Because that is a running bit too that they do, where they do the bleep.
Well, I mean, they did that earlier with Ron.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
Yeah.
So this episode does do that a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You're right.
But you're right. It is a running gag. I don't remember if they did it in the earlier episodes, but
Yeah, but there's definitely in this one, and this is one of those where we talked about with South Park, where sometimes bleeps are more funny than
Yes.
just saying the word.
agreed.
This is a show where I think they utilize those bleeps
Properly.
very well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree. I think it's fun. Especially in like the Ron instance too. So like the Ron instance where it's like, what in
you
the
don't
world
have
did
to
you
know
just
what it
say?
is. Yeah,
Or
your
this
imagination does
instance,
it.
right? Where she's just
Yeah.
like flabbergasted and
Yeah.
like just
Yes.
saying it.
Yes, it's usually somebody is exasperated
Yes.
and like swears. Yes, great. Marlene says that, screw the speech, because Leslie was going to give a 15-minute speech or whatever. There was a song in it.
Mm-hmm.
And Marlene says, forget
Like,
everything
don't
that
do
you
that.
wrote. Yeah. We're going to make the speech work for us. So you're going to butter up Janine Restrepo to make her feel important in the speech. So, like, drop her name or, like, do something in the speech that will make her feel big. Leslie goes to give the speech. And she doesn't. I was bracing myself, Rachel,
I
because
know.
I was like,
I couldn't remember it.
I was like, it's going to be really long and it's going to be really cringy, and I'm going to have to be like, do I put it on mute? I need to watch. I was like, God damn it, our chosen We've chosen to do this for our lives, and I'm
That's
going to have to
right.
watch cringy comedy, and I just can't take it, but it's part of my job.
It's my job
Not
now.
my real job.
What have I done?
Our service to the community that we do.
That's
Which
right.
is shelf life. And I was like, this is going to be bad. All she really does is go like, I'm Marlene's daughter. She makes a quick joke about being a political dynasty. And then she says like, so, Marlene's my mom. And that's all she says.
Yeah,
And
it's
she
like
was
Marlene's my mom. I'm her daughter. Dynasty. How do you say that woman's name?
Janine Restrepo.
And then it was Janine. Just I can't say her name. Janine. Janine.
Janine Restrepo.
Restrepo. Janine Restrepo.
Yes.
And then she just keeps
That's all
saying.
saying.
I knew you were gonna do that to me. I'm so sorry. Janine Restrepo. And she's just trying to be like, oh, and she's here, and other people.
Yeah.
And then it
others.
just becomes like, and I love you, Mom, and Janine
Yeah,
Restrepo.
I love you, Mom. Yes, and I love you too, Janine. That was the point.
Yeah, there was like the pauses in between. You could tell where it was like, she said something with the mom, like nice clappter. Clappter? God damn.
Clappter.
I suck today.
That's when you clap and laugh at the same time. You do clappter. Folks at home, Rachel just invented a new phrase where you laugh so hard that you're like, ah! Yeah, it's true.
That. That's great.
It's so true.
Oh, god damn it. Well, they do some possible clappter and claps and everything, right? And then when she says anything about Janine Restrepo, it's just like, oh, okay.
There's
clapping.
a tepid applause. Yes. She does it the way that that Marlene was thinking at first, because she does the little, like, taps her nose and, like, points at Leslie, like, yep, you got it.
Yeah, the
like,
first
that's exactly
time.
what I would have done. Yeah. The I love you, Janine part at the end, she shouldn't have said. But
No,
it wasn't
was a
too
little
bad.
awkward.
I was actually, like, surprised that it wasn't as cringy as I know Amy Poehler could have done this.
Yes.
So I was appreciative of that.
Same.
This is where Anne says that she's just Leslie's trophy wife, because Anne goes to say something to Leslie, and she's like, not now, Anne, I'm wheeling and dealing. And she, like, just walks past her.
Right.
The lawyer, this guy I think becomes the lawyer that shows up in different places throughout the series, is the MC for the night, and he says that
I remember
people
seeing.
can make
Sorry, go ahead.
people can make speeches during dinner. So Tom makes a speech.
Like our first one, Tom Haverford jumps up, immediately wants to make a speech. Of course he does.
Because he's a kiss ass, and he's good at buttering
he
people
is
up.
so good at kissing ass, and is
Yes.
like charms the
He's a
pants off of
great ass
everybody.
kisser.
He
is
charms
actually
their
charming
pants
the
off.
room.
To kiss their ass. It's great.
Yes.
Everybody's laughing, they're clappering, they're
They
enjoying
are
their
clappering.
time. Yeah. She
I'm
feels
putting
good about
hashtag-
everything.
Hashtag clappter is going on the Blue Sky tweet or whatever they call it. Yeah, because he's buttering up Marlene. He's telling her, like, Marlene, you are too sexy. And, if you ever told me I was going to be in this room with Marlene, I'd have thought we were getting married. And, like, all of this stuff.
Yes.
This goes on further in the deleted scenes. There's more of, like, Tom being a kiss ass and stuff. And you could just tell, like, he was just, come up with things to say, and Marlene just has to, like, be charmed by all of it. There's one, though, where they cut to Ron, or like they zoom in on Ron's face, and he's just utterly disgusted by Tom giving the speech. And I kind of wish they would have left the reaction in, because it's very, very Ron,
right?
And I liked it very much. So Tom's giving the speech at the same time. Anne is on the phone with Andy, and Andy is asking her to pick up a ham and meatball sub. I went on the way home.
Not one, or not two, just one with all of it.
That's right. He could have just asked for two and combined it himself.
Yeah. But
But
then you'd
it's
have like a
not- that's not the
leftover
Andy way.
sandwich. Yeah, just,
Yeah, that's true. You just have some bread.
yeah.
Tom is still going on, and a soliloquy from Ron here where he says, I'm not going to kiss the ring, but I'm going to give a speech of facts.
Oh my god, it's great.
He gets up. Marlene clearly does not like Ron. She's
Yes.
just staring. They're staring daggers to each other.
That's right. But he felt like he had to because of, like, I think because of his position, he felt like he probably
Because of
should
his
say
position.
something.
It's
and
because
so
of
he
his
just spews it.
position.
Yep.
And I think part of it is too, also out of spite.
Yes.
Because I feel like Ron being so anti-government and Marlene being like a wheeler and dealer,
a manipulator of government.
She represents a lot of what he doesn't like about government.
Yes.
I do like that he's like, Marlene has been in this position for 30 years. Should last as much as a good varnish.
Yes. Like, Marlene is a woman who has been with the government for 30 years. 3 decades, 30 years.
But honestly,
Marlene, you're getting this award.
The way that he frames the speech, though,
it sounds
makes it work.
Almost like a compliment. Like you're also like,
complimentary.
Look, you're a woman that's been here for 30 years. That's like, that's an accomplishment.
And compares her to a good varnish, which is, Ron Swanson, that would be a compliment. Yeah. Tom comes and asks Mark when they're going to leave because they're going to troll for some mall ass. I guess Tom has just talked Mark into like taking him out so that he can like see how Mark picks up all these chicks.
Probably.
I think that's the idea.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, Anne, you can come too. And Anne's like, I would love to come hit on chicks with you guys, but Leslie's wheeling and dealing. And they cut to Leslie, and she's at some other table, like, banging spoons on her knees.
I don't know. Yeah, she was doing something weird.
but the people at the table are laughing at it.
So they're into it.
Like, she is networking. I like, too, Tom saying, would you really hit on chicks?
Yes.
He wants to know, like, would she help him, I guess?
I think it was also... Yeah, I think it might have been like a wingman thing or a lesbian thing. I think it's a little bit of both. A little bit of both.
Yeah, a little from column A, a little from column B.
Yeah.
So Marlene thinks that Restrepo is blowing them off because Leslie not cornered, but just like found Restrepo like walking back from like some, food
or the bathroom or
something.
Yeah.
First of all, do love that she's like, I'm Marlene's daughter. And Janine goes, yeah, I caught that.
Yeah, I got that. It's like you said it 3 times. We get it.
She asks Janine if they could set up a meeting. And Janine says, like, yeah, call my secretary. She'll set something up for next month. So Leslie's all excited about this. But Marlene, knowing Janine Restrepo,
right,
knows that if she says, call my secretary, she's just putting you on. So that you think that she's paying attention, but she's really not.
Right. Like, we'll put you in the schedule, but then it'll probably get pushed or moved or...
Leslie goes, that is not conduct worthy of the zoning board. And Marlene tells Leslie,
oh my God,
she's like, I didn't want to use this, but Marlene's husband got a DUI out of state, and she's been trying to keep it quiet. And Leslie goes, well, everyone has their problems.
Right, like, oh, okay,
because
that
to
sucks.
Leslie,
yeah.
You never would use something like that.
No.
Leslie's like, that stinks. But, like, she does not think about it in any way, shape, or form to use against her. And Marlene is like, Leslie, we're going to use the DUI. We're going to blackmail her.
Pretty much. Into giving us what we want.
Leslie says she doesn't think she can do that. She's like, I want to win a Tellinson Award one day. They don't give Tellinson Awards to people that blackmail and do undercut things and do shady shit. And Marlene is like, Leslie, they only give awards to people like that.
And then she goes around the table and tells all of the dirty deeds.
Which is a great way to do the beat from before when Leslie was going around the table. Like, it's a great little callback to that.
Yes.
She explains that the winners of this war are just the nastiest, most diabolical people you could ever meet. It's just all these old people at this table in this little small town.
Those are 8 of the nastiest, most diabolical people you could ever want to meet. Bert Winfield was a blackmailer. Don Crink slept her way to the top of the DMV. Trip Holloway named names in the 50s. Horace Rangel used the police department to harass journalists. And, geez, honey, Tony Tellinson was the worst. He tried to resegregate the drinking fountains.
And she says, in Tellinson, he's the worst of them all. He tried to resegregate the drinking fountains.
I mean, honestly, she's not wrong.
So Leslie is going to have to accept what politics in this town is like, and she has to decide whether she's going to do this or not. Anne is really bored. She's like sitting there like
understandable.
Playing with her food.
She's like by herself.
Well, because I think Jerry and April even left, and she doesn't really know them yet. There is a deleted scene where she tries to talk to April. She's like, April, you're in college. What are you majoring in? And Aubrey Plaza sits there and doesn't say anything for like 30 seconds and then just goes, communications. Anne thinks
the irony.
She and Leslie tells Anne the plan, and Anne thinks that that's a slimy thing to do and she shouldn't do it. And Leslie tells Anne that, well, this isn't like nursing. Nursing is easy. This is politics. But then when you actually hear Leslie explain what she means, where it's like, people come to you and you heal them. Like, you know exactly what your job is.
Right.
In politics, you have to do all of this shady shit, or you'll be taken advantage of.
Right. There's supposed to be a system, but the system doesn't work that way.
She actually did a pretty good, because she didn't mean it in a way to degrade Anne being a nurse. Anne took it that way at first, but then when she explains it, I don't think Anne really could have gotten mad at Leslie for the way she said it, because it was actually complimentary in a way, because it's like,
they come to you and you heal them.
You come to heal them no matter what. I have to figure out how to get around all of this crap.
To actually get something done.
Anne says she thinks that it's bad advice, and Leslie's like, my mom wouldn't give me bad advice. Anne says, do you do everything your mom tells you to do? This pisses Leslie off.
It does. It does.
So what does she say back to Anne, Rachel?
Do you just do everything your boyfriend tells you to do?
Make any pancakes lately?
Yes, make any pancakes lately. She's like, well, he's in crutches. Yeah, and you're his third crutch.
Yes, that was so cutting.
It was a good one.
And Anne just goes, I don't need to be here. Because she was there just to support Leslie anyway.
Exactly.
So she gets up and leaves, all pissed off. The councilman from before, the gay councilman, comes up and says, it's okay if you have a fight. Like, he must have been paying attention
he has to
it
be,
or
like,
whatever.
watching them this entire time. He's obsessed now with the fact that they're a gay couple here. And he's just like, oh, I wish that could have been me. But yeah, he says, like, it's okay. You're just like everybody else. Which confuses Leslie. But then she's like,
yes,
okay, yeah, we're friends.
Leslie doesn't think it. Like, yeah, I suppose so. I do enjoy the fact that they've been building up to this because Anne has been such a pushover for Andy this entire time, and no one's really said anything about it until now.
Right. Which
This
it comes
next joke
back, like, this comes
is-
back a lot more, too, because it's like a lot of the times somebody
She does it a lot
yes,
in the series.
and somebody
At
has to,
some
like,
point-
call her out on it, and it's usually Leslie.
Because it's not necessarily being a pushover, but Leslie at some point says, like, you change your whole personality based on whoever
Yes.
you're dating.
Uh-huh. That's the exact moment I was thinking of.
This next joke, Rachel, I loved. It's a little cynical, but it felt very Parks and Rec.
Mm-hmm.
The lawyer MC is back at the podium, and he says that Tellinson himself has delivered a message from his hospital bed, filmed a few months ago when he could still talk. And they turn on the video, and it's this guy in a hospital bed struggling to lift his hand to wave at the camera.
Yes.
It cuts away to the next scene, but when it comes back, the lawyer says,
Thank you, Tony, for those inspiring twitches and blinks.
I loved that
It's
joke.
so much.
I thought it was amazing. Because
I'm
it's
glad they
one of
cut
those-
away. I'm glad there was a cutaway and a
Yes,
comeback just for
yes.
the end of it. Because that would have been such a cringy moment otherwise. But because it was just the beginning and the end of
yes.
it was perfect. Yes.
Absolutely. The way that they cut away and the way that they come back, it's great. It's a more poignant commentary now than it probably even was in 2009 about these old fuck politicians that just won't stop
Yes.
and retire.
Mm-hmm.
It works on that level even more in modern times. Just a good joke.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it also kind of brings back when Leslie was just like, he still is, because they're keeping him
Yes.
alive.
yes. And it brings that back too.
Mm-hmm.
Tom and Mark are at the bar, and Tom is wearing this bucket hat. Looks like something that Britney Spears would have worn in 2002.
Yeah, it's definitely a 2000s hat. Mm-hmm. Because it's like
doing
felt
it to
looking.
Peacock.
It's got like that soft
Yeah, it
look
looks
to
like felt. We read in the notes about the episode, Rachel, that this was Aziz Ansari's addition.
Yes.
Because he felt that Tom is the type of guy that would do pickup artist moves like Peacock and Neg and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
So he actually kind of forms this character a bit here and informs this character for the rest of the series.
Which is fantastic. I love that.
So he went to Greg Daniels and said that he thinks that he should be peacocking in this scene. Greg Daniels and him went to wardrobe and they were like, give us something silly that like Tom could wear. And
Yeah,
they
like makes you
tried a few
stand
different
out.
Things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because it looks even dumber because he's just wearing his regular suit.
Yes.
With this hat.
With this
for
orange,
no reason.
like, winter hat.
Like those losers that do the pickup artist thing, he'd be wearing like a big like pimp coat or like, you know, like a big poofy,
bright
like,
colors and
yeah, like it wouldn't just be
it would
one
just be weird, like an
bucket
ascot.
hat.
I like the bucket hat. It is kind of like they're gonna question it, like why the hat?
Why the hat? So he thinks it's like gonna be an opening to be able to ask.
I'm
about
glad
that.
you asked.
Leslie tries the blackmail. So she goes and sits down by Janine, and she says, you know, we're gonna have to do it sooner than a month. And Janine says, well, call my secretary.
That's fine. We'll set something up then. Which makes me go, this woman is on board with you. This is perfect. She's like, yeah, okay, we can do Monday then. That's fine. We'll just set something up.
Yeah, like, call my secretary Monday. We'll set something up.
Yeah, she's like open
we'll
to
do
it. Yeah.
You know what? You know what really should have been, like, and the mom is cutthroat. She's the iron asshole of Pawnee, as Rachel said.
That's right.
So if she would have just tried this first, and then Janine blew them off, then you can go to the next thing that you have to do politically.
Yes.
That's not Marlene's style. Marlene is like, you're going to do what I am telling you to do.
Right. We're setting this up right this second, and I'm not going through your secretary. Like, that's, like, I think how she tends to do things, too. She refuses to go through another
Marlene
person.
would not go through a secretary. But Marlene is way higher on the totem pole, too.
Right.
So.
Exactly.
So Leslie says, your husband, he drive much? Drive much? Out of state? And Janine just stares at her. She shouldn't have said this. I know about your husband's DUI. My mom told me.
My mom told me.
Why would you say that?
I don't know.
Now you're implicating Marlene in this.
Yeah. Yeah, really.
So Janine says, what do you want back? Knowing probably because Marlene was involved.
Right.
Like, okay, I need
She
to
knows
do
what
something
Marlene does. She does this type of crap all the damn time. Like, what do you want from me?
And she throws a drink in Leslie's face. Which, when we looked at the notes of this one, Rachel, and they said that they didn't want to do too many takes because Amy Poehler would start to anticipate the water, so you'd see it in the performance.
Right.
So they were like, we can only do it like twice. And the first time they did it, they didn't have the cameras on.
Which is like, are you kidding? Are you kidding? That sounds so frustrating to be like, oh, we did it. That was a really good take. Oh, cameras were on. Let's try it again.
I bet that happens more often than you'd think. I bet it does.
Probably.
Which is why we record everything on Shelf Life and just filter out all of the
That's
excess.
right. That's right.
I have to filter out a lot of Rachel's epitaphs. She just goes on these rants.
I can't help myself.
So Leslie gets up and says, I'm sorry, and I hope your husband gets help. And walks away. So now she's completely screwed because she's put herself on the bad side of Janine.
Absolutely. So now it is like, well, I'll get to it when I get to it. I'm not going to actually help you anymore.
She's never going to help.
Ridiculous. You just tried to blackmail me.
Mark and Tom are at a table hitting on two women. Tom is failing while the two women are super into Mark.
Yes.
And they're both real estate agents, but they don't have any good stories. The only thing that they can think of is that the one girl's like, oh, I forgot the keys once to the house. And the other one's like, you do that too? I've done that before too.
And it sucks because you have to go back to the place and get the key. And then it's like, oh my God. And it's like, and he's just looking like, oh God, this is it?
Yeah,
this is your story?
Right. That they don't have anything good to say. And Tom is like, whoa, forgetting the keys. That's hilarious. Because he's just trying anything to get in their pants. Mark, though, thinks that they're boring. He finishes his beer and he just walks away.
Yes.
Which is very Mark Brandanawicz to not even be like,
prick.
Excuse me.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like, have a great night, ladies, or anything. He just walks away like an ass.
Which is... It's funny, but it does enforce the idea that Mark does not view these women as people?
Yeah.
Yeah. He thinks of them as objects.
Oh, absolutely.
A bit.
A bit? Yeah.
Well, Anne sort of calls him out for that in the next episode. Except, spoiler alert for season 2 of Parks and Rec, she ends up dating him.
I can't believe it.
And I don't understand why.
It's disgusting. Because she has bad taste in men.
She does have really bad taste in men. Tom is like, what are you doing? They were like super into you. And he says that they were boring. Tom says, you get more trashy chicks in a year than I could count. Like, you're my king. And I'm trying to like figure out how you do this.
And I want to be a man slut. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to be a man skank. I want to know all of your secrets. And Mark, like I'm saying, Rachel, when he realizes that they're boring, he's thinking about how Anne and Leslie aren't boring, how they're actually like fun, and even though they're like goofy, they have way more characteristics than these girls that he picks up at the bars.
He thinks they're more dynamic. Maybe that's what we're thinking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. So he's like, I don't want to be with these trashy girls anymore. Maybe I want to be with somebody like Leslie or Anne, who has a lot more personality and a lot more stuff going for them. They're goofy. Maybe they're not, as pretty or something. Rashida Jones, get out of here.
Right.
But but that's like what Mark is thinking.
Sure.
So Tom just wanted to figure out how to pick up these chicks, and Mark kind of is like, you'll be fine, and leaves. Leslie shows up to Anne's house. Honestly, Rachel, as a guy, Rashida Jones looks so hot in just like her like this just
I've heard
loungewear.
this before. I've heard this before that men are just like, no, the loungewear is actually sexier than getting all dolled up.
I don't know what it was because it's Rashida Jones. She looks good most of the time anyway. She's however Leslie would describe her. But for some reason in this episode, maybe I was just in the mood for looking at Anne or whatever.
Apparently.
But I was just like, hot damn, Anne, you look so cute in this outfit. She tells Anne she couldn't do it. She couldn't go away with it. Or she couldn't go through with it.
Yeah.
Even though she did try to go through with it.
She did say she tried, but then couldn't. But it's like...
Yeah, she tried, but she wasn't going to use it.
It wasn't even like... You tried and failed. You did try.
You did try.
Yeah, it's not like you couldn't go through with it. You just sucked at it. So it didn't work.
Anne says there's some truth to what Leslie said about her and Andy. And Leslie jims the camera because she's like, no. And then looks at us.
Right. The little side eye.
But they hug to make up, and that's where I think they've grown as friends.
Oh, absolutely.
They understand each other a lot more, and they respect each other a lot more.
Because they each called the other out, which is also something that you'd hope your friend would do for you when you're doing something
Anne was
you're
willing
not
to come and help Leslie.
Yes.
Not knowing that they were going to advance the pit plot, she was just there for Leslie because Leslie's been there for her.
She asked, and she's like, yeah, I'll go to that with you and for you. Absolutely.
Andy thinks that Leslie was a dude.
So he got all jealous when he came out. Yeah.
It's like, what the hell? Well, if there was just some guy just suddenly in the house.
But he's like,
weird.
Oh, Leslie, I thought you were a dude.
But notice how far in between we talked about one of the jokes about Leslie's haircut till now. Like, it's not that as prevalent as I remembered it being. Mark comes back to the banquet, but they're gone. So I think he's disappointed that he missed Leslie and Anne.
Right, getting to hang with them.
Leslie and Anne are watching a movie. Andy fell asleep on the couch. I couldn't tell what they were watching.
I don't know, because I couldn't tell either. I'm like, I don't recognize it. I wasn't sure what it could be.
And I don't think that there was any note about it anywhere. Like anyone's said, folks at home, if you know what it was, let us know.
Could it be like a Bond or something? It kind of looks like it could be some sort of James Bond movie. The woman is laying down and there's a man. It kind of looks like Sean Connery.
It looked like a James Bond-esque thing. It looked like a beach blanket bimbo type movie. And I was like,
and that's something Andy would have watched too. So
I was trying to figure out if it was supposed to be symbolic of something with the plot, depending on what it could have been. But it's like I can't tell what it is, so that's probably not it either.
Right.
And we have a little narration where Leslie is realizing how shitty people are, especially those in politics.
And she's taking her hair out.
She's taking the hair out, which shows that she didn't really get the cut done. It was just that Salvatore
pinned it up and
styled it.
Right.
Yeah. That's why everyone calls her mom the iron asshole Pawnee. And she goes fondly. It's a fond nickname.
Definitely.
Because everybody thinks of it as being
fondly.
She's because everyone is afraid of her.
Tough.
They respect her.
Right.
Yeah.
But Ron's like, no, I just called her that because she's a bitch.
Yep, pretty much. Love the cold clothes, where Tom is talking about how, I am married. But my wife knows that as part of a politician's job is you have to wheel and deal and you have to impress women. You have to be a ladies' man.
Right.
And he says the fact that I haven't cheated on her is a disappointment to both of us.
To both of us.
It all makes more sense when you realize that it's a green card marriage.
Right. Spoiler alert, it's a green card marriage.
But that's still really funny. That's a funny end. So that is the ending of The Banquet. Rachel, what did you think of The Banquet?
I like this one a lot. I like how do I want to say that? I like the strength of the character dynamics in this and how like they all interact with each other. I'm so glad it didn't go super cringe where I just kept feeling like it was going to, and then they kind of like went, no, subvert your expectation of cringe on this one.
Subverted your cringe expectation.
But I think it's kind of fun, and I like what you were saying during it, where like there's this dynamic world being built, and it just you feel it, and you feel like this is like it could be real, it could have like history and all of that. There could be a lot of background.
I was slightly surprised by this one. It's the best one that we've seen yet, I think. Spoiler alert for my ranking. But to me, it was actually pretty funny, and a lot of the bits felt like they could have been in the latter seasons of the show. Cynicality a little bit, but still fit in with Parks and Rec, and like we kind of discussed about the world building and the character dynamics and everything like that. I agree. I thought that this one was actually sort of strong for the first season of Parks and Rec, as far as a lot of the jokes and stuff went. But this one definitely so far has been the funniest of the episodes, I thought. Okay, so that was The Banquet, which means when we come back, after a word from our fake sponsor, we will get into the finale of Season 1, The End, The Rock Show, after the break.
The Wamapoke people have a saying, only one who listens hears the cry of the wolf. That advice has been passed down from generation to generation. Today, I give that advice to you. Listen for Coinsy the Wolf at Wamapoke Casino. Twice a day, one lucky visitor will hit the Mega Wolf jackpot, and Coinsy will howl for you. Wamapoke Casino, slowly taking back our money from white people, 1 quarter at a time.
We're back with I was trying to really do a Kramer on that one. With the final episode of Parks and Recreation. Rachel, we've come a long way. We've learned a lot about small government.
We have.
What will be the finale for Parks and Rec?
So the season 1 finale is called Rock Show, where Andy gets his cast off and is able to perform a show with his rock band, and everybody's invited.
Yeah, that is pretty much all that happens. Yeah. The side story of it is also that Leslie goes on a date.
You're right.
I guess would be the B story.
It's supposed to be a business date, but then it's also a date. Yeah.
This was the finale of the show. I almost said of the series, and quite frankly, if you look at some of the reviews that people gave this and the ratings that it got, it's a miracle that it wasn't the finale of the series. This one guy from By the Numbers called the rating pitiful.
Wow.
I have no idea. I don't understand ratings, and I don't care, but apparently it wasn't great. It was generally received positive reviews, though. Many critics called it the best episode of the series up to that point.
Also fair. Right?
Well, we'll see. We'll see what we think about this at the end of it. The one guy in here says that he felt Rock Show was the episode where Parks and Rec found the right tone for the series and for Leslie Knope. The characters were likable. The jokes seemed natural. The awkwardness of the show was turned down. So a lot of hype around the Rock Show, Rachel.
It does feel that way, absolutely.
So let's get right into it. Rock Show. It was written by Norm Hiscock, and it was directed by Michael Schur. Begins with, one thing to note, Rachel, I watched both versions. On the DVD, there is a director's cut.
Okay. Interesting.
So I watched both. The director's cut is 26 minutes, so it's only a few minutes longer than the original cut. I assume Peacock does not have the director's cut.
It's 26
Peacock.
minutes and 52 seconds.
Oh, okay. So maybe they put the director's cut on Peacock. So that's interesting.
So I may have watched it as well.
All right, I'll tell you the differences then of what they are when we get there, because it's mostly scenes, I think.
Okay, I'm excited for that.
Andy is getting his cast off. So it's a great day for
Pawnee, and therefore
Andy. I
the
thought
rest
she
of the
was
world.
Pawnee. Yes, I thought that's what she was going to do. It's a wonderful day for Pawnee, and therefore the rest of the world. But she says it's a wonderful day for her subcommittee.
Yes.
This is not part of the director's cut, or only part of it is. A little bit of it is, it's stretched out in the director's cut, is Tom doing the boobs are dead joke.
It's so random.
So Tom has a stethoscope on because they're at the hospital for Andy to get the casts off. He puts the stethoscope on Leslie's chest and says, your boobs are dead.
Your boobs are dead.
Leslie goes, stop it. No, they're not. I kind of like that they could have fun. Like, they're co-workers. Leslie is Tom's
it's a
boss.
bit of sexual harassment there, but...
It's definitely sexual harassment.
Don't do that.
But
don't do that to your
no,
coworkers.
folks at home, do not do that. Do not do that.
Don't do that. But in this...
These two know each other and are good enough friends that they just are able to kind of have that kind of relationship.
She's just rolling her eyes at him the whole time.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you end up having people at work that you're either friends with, and even at the office, if you're not doing it loud enough, you can bust each other's balls or whatever.
Right.
Like, you can, yeah.
Of course. Don't do your boobs are dead
Don't
joke.
do it.
Don't do that.
Please don't do it. Probably just in general, good idea. Don't do that.
Just don't do that.
Like, I can
It's not
going
gonna
to
work to pick up a chick, all right? It's not gonna work.
No. How would it?
I don't know.
I'm trying to think of how Tom could take the stethoscope to the bar and do this and put the stethoscope on the girl's boobs, and it would be the opposite. It would be like, whoa, your boobs are, I don't even know. Your boobs have a cancer, or like,
yeah,
whoa,
they're like...
Like,
you'd
it
have
would
to
have
say
to be
something
something where it's
about oh, you're...
They need me.
They need
like
mouth-to-mouth
your boobs
resuscitation.
yeah.
Yeah.
They need medicine. And they need me. Like,
In
I'm
some
the
way.
antidote. Or
Yeah.
I can't think of it. Like, that's clearly like the path that you would go to get there. If Rachel and I are going to go do a writing session, we're going to come back with a good one. Folks at home, write in with what your good pickup lines with so it involves a stethoscope and boobs.
Yep, that's it.
Go. Talk amongst yourselves. Figure out what the pickup line is.
God.
Anyway, he says that they're too small. He says we couldn't revise them. They were just too small.
I'm just saying, it's rude. How dare you?
That part where he says that, I think, was cut out. I don't think that was part of the other cut, from what I remember from watching both versions. In fact, a lot of this scene is just extended, where Leslie is recording sound bites.
Mm-hmm.
She's got a thing up to Anne, a recorder, and she's asking, like, Anne, how do you feel? And Anne's like,
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
And then Leslie's like, oh, I'm trying to get sound bites for the project so that we can use that. So, like, say something more grabby, but not too grabby. Say something authentic, but not,
And don't make it sound rehearsed. But think about it for a second.
And Anne's like, I'm happy. So Anne says that she would do the same thing for Leslie if something happened to Leslie, completing their friendship. She says, well, I'd probably bring a fewer stuffed animals. And in the background, you can see that Leslie has brought Andy just a treasure trove of stuffed animals.
Yes. Which just makes it feel like she's going to visit a child. You bring a bunch of stuffed animals to make them feel better. Like, yay!
So.
I understand, yeah. The man-child that he is.
That part also was not in the other cut, in the original TV cut with the stuffed animals. The doctor, who becomes the recurring doctor of this hospital that Anne works for, he's like a dry...
does not care, does his
not
job.
give a shit.
Yep.
Yeah, about any of the people. He does not care.
No.
And he's a prick. I believe that Anne tells Ron at some point, he's a jerk, just like you. You'll love him.
Oh, yeah. Yes, because she has Ron go to him, and that's such a great scene. It's so good. Yeah.
The doctor cuts the cast off. It's
so
Go
gross.
ahead, Rachel.
It's so disgusting.
I've never had a broken bone, so I've never had a cast.
Yeah.
Because I've been counting money my whole life. But Rachel, what is...
I had a cast,
cast,
but it wasn't because I broke my bone. I had surgery, and I had to keep my foot, still, so they had it in a cast. Which was funny. I think we have a picture of me in a cast at the same time our dog had a cast. But yes, this is disgusting. His one leg is already out, and it's pasty, white as can be.
I thought that was I assume that's an effect, because they made it look like
they had to have
white.
put something on him to make him whiter.
because it's
Yeah.
just super white. But then they take off the other one, and it's absolutely horrendously disgusting.
You know it smells.
You
That
know
has to
it just
stink.
reeks. It smells. It's just probably wafting through the air now. I'm surprised nobody gagged in this scene. But
They didn't think about that. They didn't think about that part of the effect of
Right.
the smell.
There's crumbs. There's little toy figurines.
Anne's iPod.
There's an iPod. There's like forks and spoons and pennies and just debris of all sorts. Yeah, it's disgusting.
The inner side of the cast is also like all yellowed and stuff. They did a pretty good job of making this cast look disgusting.
Oh,
Leslie asked the doctor, "Can I keep the cast?" And the doctor goes, "That's quite a disgusting request, but sure, why not?" She's saying that she's going to use it as a symbol for filling in the pit.
It just has to stink,
Andy-
though. Ugh.
Oh, it's got to be like it would have been good if she like held it too close to her head and she was like, ooh,
And cringed
and,
away
like, had
from
to, like,
it.
move it away
Yeah,
or
and then
something.
kept talking.
Yeah. That could have been like a little bit.
Right.
Andy stands up. He says it's going to be great to stand on two legs for the first time in 2 months, and he goes to do it and falls over because his muscles have atrophied because all he does is sit on the couch. They might be a little weak at first, the doctor said.
Yeah. Just watches him fall. It might be a little weak.
Yeah, he does not have any like
Sympathy?
I was gonna say like urgency to be like, oh, Andy, like yeah.
That too.
But I do love that that's like the trait of this doctor.
Yes.
We go to the city hall
Mhm.
after the opening credits. That was like the cold open of the episode, and they got Andy a cake.
It's a very cute cake, honestly.
I do like it.
It's a
yeah,
cute
I do
cake.
like this cake. I'd eat that cake.
It looks like
not
a little
after
tart.
the pigeon got on it.
No. Those carry diseases. They can. That'd be gross.
The pigeons have really been a background character this entire season as well. Those pigeons show up in the courtyard a lot.
Our reoccurring background character, the pigeons.
Leslie doesn't even shoo the pigeon. Like, they've all cut themselves a piece of this cake, and then the pigeon is just kind of hanging out on it. And Leslie doesn't even shoo it away.
Maybe she's friends with the pigeons. Maybe she gives them crumbs and stuff.
She would be a pigeon lady.
Crackers.
You're right.
Yeah,
She's
breadcrumbs.
definitely a pigeon lady.
Absolutely.
Anne wants to go say something, and she starts saying something, and Leslie goes, "Everybody shut up. Anne wants to say something." I think she actually says, "Quiet, everyone. Anne wants to say something," but I like my version better.
Quiet you.
She thanks all of them for being supportive, and she didn't think that the government or anybody in the government would actually help with this. So she's very thankful and
Surprised,
grateful that she found these people to be able to like help.
Which is actually a nice sentiment, you know?
It's a nice sentiment. I really enjoy when Tom goes to like do like the thanks, Anne, like
and
touch
like
her
tap her on the
arm.
shoulder. She's like,
She flinches away. It's a very like good like natural movement by Rashida Jones and Aziz to like flinch away like
and then
that.
he just kind of like goes back slowly, like, oh.
And they invite them all to go to Andy's rock show. This is the soliloquy from Anne where she says that she thinks that Andy has a good band and that they're really good, and that Andy has been able to do a lot of rehearsals because he's been writing about stuff in his eyesight. So
because it's like, well, he can't go to like actually play with the band, so he's just like, whatever's around me, I'm just gonna start making songs for it.
Yeah, so he makes a song for the lamp and a song for the sandwich.
I liked the part where he's just like, "Are you turkey or ham?" And then she just yells from the other room, "Ham!" And then he turns and looks at the lamp and just goes, "There's a lamp," and starts doing a lamp song. And I said, this had to have been improvised on Pratt's fault, or on Pratt's
part.
This had to have been improvised on Pratt's part because it just felt like, you know, let me just come up with something and just riff for a little while.
I thought that this episode in general felt like there was a lot of Andy, Chris Pratt improv.
Yes.
Like it
actually
felt like,
becoming Andy.
Yeah, a lot more so. It really did feel like the entire episode could have been Andy says something. Could have been in the script
Now Andy
and
speaks.
Chris Pratt just coming up with it.
Andy's rebuttal. Go on.
They ask him what kind of music he plays, and Andy's like, I don't like to put a label on it, but if I had to say, I'd say it's kind of like Matchbox 20 meets the Fray, and they're like, oh, so rock music. And he goes, well, again, I don't want to put a label on it.
So
or
he wants to
anything.
be like indie rock, is what it feels like.
I think he did. Well, it's Andy.
It's Andy.
So, but I think he doesn't want anyone to think he sounds like something. He sounds like Dave Matthews. That's what it comes down to.
Fair.
But I think he doesn't want it to sound like anything necessarily. He doesn't want people comparing it. Yes, he wants to be unique.
Yeah.
So he wants to be undefinable rock. No, again, I think it's more than that. And then April mockingly says, I totally get what you mean. That was also improvised by Aubrey Plaza. We read, Rachel, that this is one of the things where they thought, oh, these two can improvise. They can play off of each other.
And they have like
we
a
should probably
good
put them in more
dynamic.
scenes.
I love that.
Because
it's like it's the black cat and the golden retriever dynamic.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, definitely. Leslie can't go because she has a meeting that her mom set up for that evening, a political tete-a-tete with some city manager or something from Eagleton.
Right.
I don't think it's the first time we've heard of Eagleton in the 6 episodes. I might be wrong about that.
I
But
think
Eagleton
they mentioned
gets
it once.
here.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, Leslie, you have to go. I feel like they were just doing it to tease Leslie because knowing that Leslie would want to be with them.
Yeah, it's kind of
can't
funny
we?
because they actually are like, wow, you actually want to do something with us versus work, which is like her life.
Well, she does say everyone there knows how much she likes mixing work into her personal life.
That's also true.
But she doesn't think that she can go, and she's got to go to this meeting. But she says she'll meet them afterward.
Right.
A guy comes into Mark's office and congratulates him. And Mark's like, thanks. What did I do? And he says that Mark was able to get the speed bump taken care of.
Right.
And Mark tells us that, like, oh, yeah, there's this speed bump on this one road. And it's, like, the middle of town. And it's, like, the worst thing ever. And they show it, and it's just this massive, like, speed bump.
So it's like what those are called are speed tables. I've heard this because they're wider. They're like massive.
What is the point of
just
that?
to slow
Like,
you down. It's just to slow you down.
Okay, but I understand why some roads have speed bumps and why some areas have speed bumps, but like, why do you need one that's that wide? Why does it need to be that big?
I think there's something to it being like that wide and having like a speed table versus just a bump. I think it might be something to do with like how the cars go over it, so it's a little safer for your car to go over it. I don't know. Are we looking this up? Are we learning something today?
Yes, I'm looking. Yeah, we're going to learn something today. Okay. This is according to the National Association of City Transportation Officials. A speed table are mid-block traffic calming devices that raise the entire wheelbase of a vehicle to reduce its traffic speeds. They're longer than speed humps and flat-topped, usually are for places ranging from 25 to 45 miles an hour, are used on collector streets or transit and emergency response routes. Speed tables may be designed as raised mid-block crossings, often in conjunction with curb extensions. The pictures that they use of speed bump or speed tables, it looks like downtown areas where like people would be walking across them a lot. They like slow down.
So it
the
slows
traffic
you down, but
oncoming.
it doesn't like slow it down to like abrupt slowness. It's like just slow down enough.
Interesting. This apparently was either being neglected by the people of Pawnee or it was too big and too high because the footage that they shows a muffler falling off.
Yes, it like breaks a car.
So Mark says that he was able to change this and get it passed through to lower it by 2 inches. What he can achieve in government can literally be measured.
That is a good line. I like that one.
This whole next scene is not in the regular cut. And it would ruin the twist. So if you watched this on TV, you would not have, spoiler alert, you would not have known that her mom set Leslie up on a date.
Yes.
Until Leslie gets there. In the director's cut, there's an entire scene with Leslie and Marlene where Marlene tells us that she's setting Leslie up on a date.
Because she's so bad at it. And she can never find somebody. So she's like, I found her somebody that will love to talk government with her. Leslie's not much of a dater. You don't meet many guys at the Hall of Records, the public library, or the shoe section at JCPenney.
Yes. Good lines, but Marlene should know that Leslie Knope would never be in a public library.
That's true. Oh, that's true. That doesn't come till later. We don't find that out.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Maybe there was some falling out between the parks
I have a
department and
feeling.
the library.
Maybe she used to be there all the time, and then something happens.
Something happened. We don't know.
Well, we
ask
kind
her
of know
mom
they're
if
evil,
they-
so it's fine, but...
That's right. Leslie asks her mom if they can reschedule the meeting, and Marlene says, I don't know, you'll look flaky if you do that. Leslie tells us that there's, in politics, you can't be flaky. That's the worst thing you can be. Or corrupt, or a rapist. But those three things.
Yes. Those three things.
Probably in that order. Actually, honestly, it's a good joke for 2009, but sitting here in modern day...
Sadly...
Being flaky
that
probably
order.
is the thing you can't be.
It's only flaky.
Being corrupt and a rapist will probably get you ahead.
Into office? Yeah. Probably put you right at the top of the totem pole. Put you in places of power, sadly.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, so Marlene says the things about he's a city manager from Eagleton. He's got 2 kids. He's divorced. Leslie doesn't pick up on that. Like, why would that matter? Leslie's thinking, like, okay, my mom's just prepping me for, like, things to be able to talk about with this guy.
Right. It's all that networking stuff. You know, you got to be on the personal level to, like, talk to them sometimes. It's helpful.
Marlene met him at a government conference and thinks that Leslie will love him because all he did was talk about government shit. I think what Marlene doesn't realize, though, is that you met him at a government conference, so he was in work mode. So, yeah, that's all he talked about.
Yeah.
Leslie's one of the few people that never leaves that work mode.
Right.
She tells Leslie to dress up in something more stylish, because Leslie was like, I don't know, I was just going to wear this. Like,
well, I think she said she was going to change into, like, something like a more of a button-down, you know?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did like that she said, like, am I supposed to be Laura Bush stylish or Michelle Obama stylish? Like, still very political and, like, business-like.
Yes. I know what she's talking about, though, because I can picture both of those first ladies in my head, and I know the differences in what they would always... It's kind of odd... I don't know which first lady probably started this, but it does feel like all of them had to have a certain wardrobe.
Absolutely.
And it was like, this is all you wear for
it does feel that
5
way.
years or whatever.
Absolutely.
8 years. Anne is passing out flyers for the band. Scarecrow Boat is the name of Andy's band now. It was Three Skin, formerly Foreskin. Now it's Scarecrow Boat at the hospital. It seems odd that Anne would be into, like, her boyfriend being in a rock band, but as we've said... Anne always takes on part of the personality of the person she's with, which I think is a relatable thing. I think we've all known people that do that just suddenly become into something because their significant other is into it, which is fine. You can be supportive of your significant other for sure. But it feels like Anne goes, like, above and beyond.
Yes,
to, like...
she goes way over the top when it comes to taking on a personality of somebody else.
It just feels odd that Anne would be, like... passing out flyers at the hospital.
Work?
Yeah. It just didn't seem... It didn't seem right. I don't know. It seemed like something a younger person would do. And Anne... Rashida Jones is probably, like, in her late 40s now as we record this. So she'd have been... How long ago was this? This is, like, 15 years ago? So she'd been, like, early 30s. So maybe, and I don't know how old she's supposed to be in the show, because, like, as we did before.
Yeah, I don't know if we ever really know. It feels like she's supposed to be early 30s. I don't know why, but it just does feel that way.
Amy Poehler is 38 in real life at this time, but she's playing like 34, 35.
Mm-hmm.
So Anne's got to be somewhere in that same range.
I would think so.
And, the doctor comes over and Anne gives him a flyer, and he asks how Andy's doing, and she's like, well, he's doing all right. You know, he's a little stumbling here and there, but, you know, he's getting by. It's getting better. And the doctor's like, well, you know, it wouldn't have been as atrophied if he wouldn't have came and gotten the cast taken off 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Anne is like, what do you mean? He said that you said this is the best time to take it off. And the doctor says, no, we asked him to come in 2 weeks ago and he rescheduled.
Saying
didn't
that
say why.
He said he would tell me why, and then he never did.
Yeah.
And then
Anne says
that she's been waiting on him hand and foot. And he goes, oh, well, that explains it.
Yeah. And he even does a little huh.
Yeah.
He does the most chuckle that this doctor could muster. which is,
Absolutely.
huh. Rachel, ever experienced this with anyone? Any of your friends ever like hammed up an injury so that they can be waited on hand and foot like this? Did you do this when you tore up your knee?
No,
in
in
the day?
fact, I kept trying to get up and I kept getting yelled at. Do I know anybody who's hammed it up? I don't know. I don't know if I do. Not that I know of. Do you?
Yeah,
I could see
think of
your
that
guys
too.
doing that.
Of course. Yeah, I could see a couple of them doing it for sure. I don't know if they ever officially did, but we'll have to get significant others of my friends at home. Please write into the mailbag and let me know if
Let
you
us know
think
your
that they were
stories.
hamming it up. I could picture it. I could kind of picture it
Yeah.
in my head with a few of them.
I could
but I
definitely.
don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we are at,
Yep.
and Andy says that, yeah, the name of the band is Scarecrow Boat. And he goes over and lists all of the names of that the band was before they got to Scarecrow Boat. Because the running gag has been that the band name has changed constantly.
Right.
Rachel, I have a list
Oh, I'm so
of
excited.
some of the names of the band that he goes over.
Lovely.
I'm going to go and share with you them right now. This felt extremely improvised.
Oh my god, yes. Because they even left in the pauses where he's trying to think of more.
He's trying to think of another one.
Yes. I liked that they
really-
kept those pauses, actually.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh yeah, we were also this. Like,
This was pretty good though, and it's a good list. So the Andys,
Mhm.
the Andy Dwyer Experience, AD and the D-Bags, Angel Snack, Crack Finger,
oh, that one's weird.
Death of a Scam Artist, Department of Homeland Obscurity. That's actually a pretty good one.
That was a good
Everything Rhymes with Orange.
Is this
Nothing
like all
Rhymes
of
with
them,
Orange.
like throughout the series?
No, just from what he says.
Really?
In this
Okay.
scene. Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing Rhymes with Orange.
Yes.
Nothing Rhymes with Blorange. 5 Skin, 3 Skin, 4 Skin.
Mhm.
Flames for Flames,
Mhm.
which is also a good one. Fleetwood Mac's Sex Pants. This one is very funny, but it's hard to say, so I need to enunciate it very
Okay.
carefully.
All right.
God Hates Figs. There's history behind that one. I don't even know if people know about this anymore. There was something called the Westboro Baptist Church,
Oh, yeah.
which were a group of bigots and the worst people you could possibly imagine
Sure.
that would go to soldiers' funerals in the aughts
I remember this.
because they thought that the United States deserved to have soldiers die because there were gay people in the country and that they weren't like put to death. So they would carry signs
Oh, they were horrible people.
that changed a vowel in
picketed
God
them.
Hates Figs.
Yep.
I'll let you fill in that blank.
Mm-hmm. Horrible.
Terrible
Horrible
people.
people.
Handrail Suicide, Just the Tip, Jet Black Pope, which is I thought was a pretty good one. Malice in Chains,
Mm-hmm.
also a good one.
Yeah.
Mouse Rat,
Classic.
Muscle Confusion, sounds like a jazz band.
It does.
Ninja Dick, Penis Pendulum,
All right.
Possum Pendulum, Puppy Pendulum, Punch Face Champions, Rad Wagon,
All right.
Razor Dick,
God.
my personal favorite, Teddy Bear Suicide.
That's a good one.
I think that's a good name.
Teddy
for a
Bear
band.
Suicide sounds like a heavy metal band. Yeah.
Yes, heavy metal band. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Two Doors Down.
Loved that one.
And now
I
it's
don't know
Scarecrow
why, but 2 Doors Down.
Well, because you don't like 3 Doors Down, it's 2 Doors Down.
2 Doors
Some
Down.
of those could definitely be cover bands for some of those bands.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's
those are the
very similar
names.
to Snotter. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, Rachel and I had a band Snotter back in the day. We'll one day we'll do a radio play of the history of Snotter. How about
Of
that?
course.
He goes over all those names. It's probably the best clip for the entire season, Rachel.
It's great.
It's up there.
So dumb and it's great.
It's up there.
Yeah.
And then he says, all right, you know what? After I said Scarecrow Boat out loud, I kind of hate it.
Yeah, I love
Which
that.
is the punchline.
Kind of hate that one now.
And it isn't very good. It's like a mouthful.
No, I
to say
don't like
Scarecrow
it.
Boat.
Scarecrow Boat. I don't like it
Doesn't even
either.
make sense.
It doesn't. The other ones kind of flow a little bit, and then you go to Scarecrow Boat, and you're like,
Scarecrow
why?
Boat. You can see Rowboat but it's scarecrow boat. Like, I think that's the pun.
Rowboat. I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it doesn't work very well. We go back to Leslie in this meeting, with air quotes, with the city manager from Eagleton.
Yes.
He clearly thinks that he is on a date.
And he's very old.
He's like in his 70s. She says at some point he's 62. He is not 62. At the time of this recording, our mom is 62. This guy's not fucking dad is 62. He's not 62 years old.
No.
This guy's like in his 70s. At least.
At least. He looks like a great grandpa. He's like, if you think of your great grandpa, that's probably what this would be.
Well, he does. He looks like an elderly grandpa.
He looks like a very elderly person. Yes.
He looks, and then later on, she says, he's in his 80s. So I just don't know if they have any idea like how old they wanted him to be.
Right.
Maybe that was part of the problem too. If he does think he's on a date, he's doing terrible while he's on this date.
Right.
So she brings out some forms and asks him like some questions, and she's
like taking notes and stuff. Like,
I like the way he says this and like the hand movements and stuff. It's very, something about it is humorous because he's like, what kind of movies do you like? And she's like, oh, I don't know, political thrillers, dramas, and she says some
documentaries.
He goes, I like all kinds of movies. Like, just the way that he says that, like, I just like all kinds of movies.
He's very excitable.
In
like a toned down way.
Well, because he's in date mode,
right?
So he's like being very extroverted and stuff, but like just the way that he just says that and like moves forward like with his hands,
got some jazz hands going on.
He does, something about that. He thinks that it's refreshing because most of the women that he would go out with don't talk about government issues. She starts putting it together and she's like, like what a weird thing.
Why would you bring that up? Yeah, really.
And he says, well, your mother says you don't date much. And she goes, well, I've been focusing on my career. I like how slowly this unveils to Leslie.
Right.
And I also like that, and maybe this is why people liked it, because it separates the Michael Scott-ness that people had the criticism of. She's not the butt of the joke.
Right.
In this episode.
No.
She's the straight man. She's the one that is embarrassed about what her mom did.
Yes, it's about the situation. Yes.
So it's not Michael Scott-ish where it's her being incompetent. She's the competent one.
Right. Yes.
So maybe that's why people
because she's able to actually put it
this
together.
one.
Right.
Because she puts it together and she's just like, oh, Christ. Like
like, did she really do this?
Amy Fuller's facial expressions throughout this date are so good.
Absolutely.
And he says a bunch of stuff about the divorce and everything. And then he goes, I know I'm not supposed to talk about my ex on the first date. And he grabs her hand. He like reaches over the table and like touches her hand. And he goes, but I feel like I can tell you anything. I thought that Leslie would like slowly back her hands away or do the flinch like Tom. And unintentionally, I'm not going to give them credit, but this is Shelf Life, so we have to look into stuff way too much. If you haven't gotten that by now, if you're listening to part 2 of Parks and Recreation, you haven't figured out what this show is like. If this is your first time, if your first subject with us, it's interesting the Anne and Leslie dynamic, or at least like what they're kind of like in awkward situations, because of earlier when Tom goes to touch Anne and she flinches back,
right?
And in this, where Leslie just doesn't
she's a deer in
move.
the headlights. She's just, don't move, let it happen.
Yeah. I don't know what that means. I don't know if there's something to be had about their personalities or like what they do in these situations.
Right.
But it's an observation I made. Yeah.
It's also kind of like Leslie, I think, is trying to come up with the, do I say something?
Do I leave? What do I do?
What am I supposed to do? Because now I figured out what's happening here. And she's like,
Some of this back and forth is in the television cut. Some of it is from the director's cut. She tries to go back to talking about the park again.
Right.
And asks about like some different zoning permits and things like that. And he goes, let's not talk about that anymore. Let's not talk about work. Let's have
let's
fun.
have some fun. And I think it is partly that she doesn't want to embarrass this old man who
Yeah, I think that too.
seems
I think she
kind
doesn't
of
want to embarrass
excited
him.
about this moment for himself.
I agree. He says, let's just get some wine and see where the night takes us.
Yes.
Which implies that I don't think that was an implication of like, you know, are we going to sleep together or something? I can't tell if
but
that's
it
how
could
Leslie
be like
took it.
it partly could be like we could, you know, maybe we'll like hit it off and we're like there's gonna be a spark and we're gonna have like so much fun. And
Sure. She calls her mom and says, I cannot believe that you set me up on a date and didn't tell me. And her mom goes, well, if I would have told you it was a date, you wouldn't have gone.
I like the line where like the mom is like, well, you're not gonna get any younger, and she's like, and he's not gonna get any older.
Right. Yeah. Like he's not getting any younger either.
Oh yeah, he's not getting any younger either. He's like 62.
Yeah, I guess it's just because
I
Leslie
think she's just
needed to say an
making
older
up
age.
numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's older than Marlene.
Yeah.
He's definitely older than Marlene.
And it's like, why did Marlene think?
Yeah, why
Here's
did Marlene
this
think
old
this?
man.
Yeah.
I guess just to
It's
like
so strange.
Is it just to be like, here I'm gonna get her dating by giving
Well,
her a
yes.
date?
I think so, Rachel, and I
Okay.
can say that because as a single man who has to deal with his mom saying, "Why don't you just go on a date with this person? Oh, you can just go out with them."
That's
That
true.
happens.
You're right.
So-
That's true. I've heard that one come out of her mouth. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so that does happen. Mom's not listening to the Parks and Rec episode.
No, probably not.
It cuts in between this call from Leslie and her mom back to the guy that she's on the date with, and he goes, I think it's going well.
Yeah.
And she looks like a young Sandy Duncan. Do we need to...
Yes.
Sandy Duncan.
I think you do.
Okay. All right. I figure people don't know who Sandy Duncan is. She's currently 78 years old, so she is older.
Right.
I guess you could say that Amy Poehler looks kind of like a young Sandy Duncan. Wasn't she Peter Pan, Rachel?
Yes.
Okay.
I feel like that's why I know who she is.
She's Peter Pan.
She was the live action Peter Pan. That was like a play.
So back in the day, whenever they would do the play for Peter Pan, they would always cast a woman, and Sandy Duncan was like the most famous Peter Pan. I think that's the version that Grandma gave you the tape of that you became like obsessed with as a little kid. You would always watch the play of Peter Pan.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, that's always the one that comes to mind, not the cartoon. That one always used to come to mind when I would think of Peter Pan.
Mm-hmm. You made us go to that play in real life.
Probably.
Yeah.
Unsurprised. What? It's fun going to plays. Like, it's fine.
Leslie's mom tells her she doesn't have to have sex with him if she doesn't want to, and Leslie's like, "Are you out of your mind?" and like yells it, and then like realizes that she like interrupted some like people that were like eating dinner outside. Because it's like, what do you? Of course, I'm not gonna have sex with this man. Like, what are you talking about?
That wasn't even a part of the conversation.
At the rock show, Ron is out with Tammy's sister Beth, who also hates Tammy.
Yes.
We never see this woman again.
Never again. Never mentioned, never seen again, nothing.
Tammy probably killed her.
Probably. No, she probably did worse. She probably, like, got her sent somewhere and, like, removed her name from everything and, like, her existence from the world. Yeah.
That's probably more accurate.
Yeah. Tammy is way eviler. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We meet Tom's wife. The way that they're framing this is Mark is going by each person from the office. So he says hi to Ron first, and then he goes to Tom, and we meet Tom's wife, Wendy. Tom's wife is super hot, and she's a surgeon.
Isn't it great?
She's loaded. She is very, very attractive. Tom's wife is filthy Canadian, though.
Wow. That's all I have to say.
Jama Williamson is playing Wendy. She comes back a few times, definitely, in this as Tom's wife before they break up.
Before the divorce.
She apparently voiced a character in Grand Theft Auto. It's fun.
I like it.
April is there with her boyfriend, and April goes, "He's not my boyfriend. He's super gay. I just make out with him when we get drunk sometimes."
We get too drunk, yeah.
This apparently was an Aubrey Plaza note that she thought that she should have a gay boyfriend. That made sense for the character. And this becomes part of the overarching plot of her character as well, that she has this gay boyfriend. So once again, it's these characters developing Parks and Rec. The way that you put it, Rachel, was right, where it's like they're developing what Parks and Rec becomes.
Absolutely. It's great. You can tell me if you don't want to talk to me. I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, God, what a move. Just what a move to be able to say that to somebody once. Like, if we ever end up becoming huge enough, Rachel, that we get fuck you money from Shelf Life, God, am I going to be able to say that to somebody and it's going to be great?
Look, I don't want to talk to you, and then just walk away.
Yeah, can't wait. I can't wait.
We
need you people to help make it possible by subscribing and spreading the good word of the podcast.
Damn straight. Bring us into the algorithm.
We cut to a soliloquy for Mark. He's at the bar, and he says, I guess I'm the seventh wheel of the office tonight because everyone else is paired up. So he's kind of lonely. I think that's what the last episode and this episode are supposed to show us, that he's unsatisfied with being the poon hound of Pawnee.
He shouldn't be. Good.
The old man is coughing on some food, which, I mean, I do that all the damn time, so
You're
I
also
can't
an old man, so it makes sense.
I'm basically old, so yeah. He shows off his sons.
Which I could see Leslie dating one of the sons.
Exactly, yes. Leslie could have been on a date with one of the sons, because the old man says, this is my youngest, he's about your age.
Yes. Which I would have loved if the mom was like, aren't you on a date with his son? Like, I was trying to set you up with one of them. And then he's like, a date with your daughter. And then just goes on the date himself.
That would have been funny. That would have been kind of funny. That could have been a way to make Marlene continue to look like
a good mom.
But I like that they make her just like
a
mom of like, I just need to get my daughter. Yeah. He insists on Leslie trying the chicken.
Yes, but like feeding her the chicken.
He's like, come on, I want the chicken. I would have been like, stop it. But like Leslie is too nice, so she just kind of goes along with it.
Yes.
I love how disgusted Leslie is though by all of this.
Oh yeah, I mean it's kind of because you're on a date with a guy who could be your dad.
Yeah.
And even points out the fact that he could be your dad, and you're just like, ugh.
I mean, unless you're into that sort of thing.
That's true. You could also be. That's fine.
If you're dating Bill Belichick, like that 124-year-old girl, or you're any of the girls that date Leonardo DiCaprio or whatever, I'm not going to judge you. I'm banking on that, Rachel. That when I'm that old, that these women are still going to be like, yeah, whatever, I guess. I don't get the Bill Belichick one. Like, I get it. I get that he's Bill Belichick. But what the fuck are you doing? Like, Leonardo DiCaprio at least makes sense.
Right, it's Leonardo DiCaprio.
But why Bill Belichick?
Money?
I guess so.
You kind of hope, you look at the man, and you kind of expect him to have a heart attack, so maybe it's all about the money.
The old man or Bill Belichick?
Bill Belichick. Both. But yes.
Have to fucking keel over and have a heart attack, and I'm not gonna leave you shit.
I think it's just one of those gold digger things. It's gotta be. It's gotta be.
So.
I can't.
Rachel, as long as
there's
both parties know, as long as both parties know what they're in it for, I guess there's no harm done.
That's fine.
What's the power dynamic of dating Bill fucking Belichick?
That's
come
fair.
Over here. I'm gonna see you, and I want you to wear that black lacy thing tonight when we go out.
I have nothing to say to this.
I was gonna get really dirty.
I know, and I was really worried.
So I decided to back off. Because Bill Belichick...
He seems like a pervert.
Bill Belichick on a date.
Like, he would be a pervert, right?
Well, the owner of the New England Patriots is the one that went to the happy ending salon.
Okay.
I don't know if Bill went with him.
Well, he just looks like he would be a pervert. Like
massage.
maybe he wouldn't go for the massage, but if you're on a date with him, he's gonna be pervy.
You think that Bill Belichick could have gone on this date with... What kind of movies do you like? I like all sorts of movies.
I think Leslie would have come up with a family emergency.
She looks like a young Sandy Duncan. I think it's going really well. Getting a lot of good vibes.
Stop. This old man at least is kind of harmless.
Oh yeah, Bill Belichick looks like he could
Yeah.
take matters into his
That's
own
my
hands.
point. That's my point.
No, we're just making jokes. We don't know.
I don't know nothing. I don't know
Nothing's ever come
nothing.
Nothing's ever come out about Bill Belichick.
I am basing
He's dating
this
a lovely
on
looking
nothing.
24-year-old woman.
Weird. It's weird.
Not
It's weird to
It's not
me.
weird.
I don't even
I'm
think
a
I
dog
would
mom.
want to date somebody in their early 20s. That would
I'm a
annoy
dynamo in
me.
the sack. I don't think I would want to date anyone in their
No.
early 20s. No.
I'm just saying.
Sack. That's why she's with me.
Ah, stop.
Anne comes to the show. Well, let's move on.
Please.
We're a little punch drunk at this point in the volume.
Most of
folks.
that is getting cut. Please,
and we
please
no,
tell
no,
me
I'm
most
keeping
of.
on-
No, you
keeping
have
a lot
to.
of that Bill Belichick. We've still got like three subjects after this. Anne comes to
Please
the
let
show.
me out of this room, for the love of God.
No,
I
you're
want to
not
be
getting
done.
Out of the room. You're not getting out of the room until we finish the volume. Anne stomps up to Andy, all pissed off. He asks Anne to get him a drink, and she's like, "Oh, well, you have two perfectly good legs, so why don't you get one yourself?" And like walks
Yes.
away, all pissed off.
Yes.
They start playing their songs. I said it sounds a little Dave Matthews-ish, but it is that like progressive rock
Oh, yeah,
style
sure.
thing.
Right. It's not bad.
I don't want to put a label on it or anything. Well, we end up learning most about Andy is that most of the lyrics are about sex or something. Like that Sex Hair, I believe, is one of their famous songs.
Well, because sex sells, so he's got to, he's using strengths. Mm-hmm.
That's right. Leslie's checking her flip phone, and the guy has a senior moment because he asks her what kind of movies she likes again.
Yes.
She's like,
You
you
asked
already
me
asked
that."
me that. I think he says that the date's going well, but I think he's just struggling to come up with, because again, he's too old
Topics?
for her. They don't have anything in
Yes.
common except for the government stuff.
Right.
That they don't have anything to talk about. And he goes, I haven't been to a rock show in a long time.
Right, implying, oh, I'm coming with. And she's like, oh,
Mhm.
no.
At least she's going to get to go to the show, though.
Right.
So, like, she's okay with it. He went to see the Everly Brothers last time. You know the Everly Brothers? I love Leslie's... the way that she, like, gets it out is very funny.
Yes.
The gang is all dancing to Andy playing. Mark is just hanging out. Anne is staring daggers at Andy, and he realizes it.
Mm-hmm.
And he lets the band take a break because he's going to try to improvise a song for Anne, knowing that she's pissed off. And it's just going, la da 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 da. Anne. It's so funny. And Anne walks away, knowing what he's trying to do is like butter her up. Mark
I feel like
comes
it would just
over
piss me off more, because it's like, yeah, none of your songs are about me. You just made that up, and it's literally just la-di-da-di-da. All right, come on.
Mark comes over, and I've been waiting, Rachel, to get your opinion about this
Oh,
scene.
no.
And he says he thinks that the band's pretty good, but he hates the name. And she goes, oh, yeah, well, they should probably change it to Big Lying Baby. And Mark's like, I gotta ask you a question. Why are you with him? And he's like, I like Andy.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this part is a valid question, I suppose.
It is valid.
Because she's also pissed at him, and he knows that she's pissed at him. There's a ton of guys out there that would be into you. And there's, like, guys with jobs and stuff that you could be dating.
Right.
He's basically hitting on her. Because he then calls her attractive.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think you're very attractive.
Anne does not take any fucking nonsense, though. And that's what makes this scene pretty good. Because she's like,
well,
"Are
she's
you hitting
already
on me?"
pissed off. She's pissed
Right.
off and has a boyfriend, and they're at the boyfriend's show. What
and
are you
Mark
doing?
is hitting on her. Mark is trying to say he's not. And she's like, you are hitting on me. He's like, no, not my style. And she's like,
bullshit.
He's like, but if I was hitting on you, would you be interested? And she's, okay, so you are hitting on me. And he's like, no, I'm not. And she's like, well, okay, let's say you are. First of all, I'm in a crappy mood.
Yep.
And
you know
we're
I'm
at
in a
my
crappy mood.
boyfriend's band's show.
Right here.
And I'm not in the mood to deal with this. And then she goes, and two, you are never in a relationship with anyone for more than a week. And you're always in a relationship with skanks. She doesn't say that, but she's like, the type of people that you are in a relationship with. And he's like, you know what? I got it. And he like walks away.
Yes.
I liked that Anne calls him out.
Mm-hmm.
It made me a little upset for what they end up doing with each other, but we'll have to see if Mark
I don't remember
becomes
why.
a better person.
I have to see something. Yes. Where's the turn?
Rachel, I really was hoping that you had some thoughts about this scene.
Oh, he's just
of Mark hitting on her.
Like anything specific?
Just your general thoughts about what this meant about Anne and Mark.
Well, okay, with Mark, this is his game. He was like, he was
totally
vulnerable.
hitting on her.
100%.
Yeah.
He's a scuzzbag, so he comes over and is like,
No,
she's
if
vulnerable.
you thought that she was vulnerable.
She's mad at
think
him.
so?
Yes. Because she's mad at the boyfriend.
I think he was just shooting his shot. I don't
You
know.
shoot a shot with somebody who's
necessarily-
in a relationship?
It's Mark Brandanawicz.
Exactly.
I think he's just trying to gauge. Thought that this felt a little bit like when they talked about how Leslie and Mark were too unlikable in the first drafts and stuff. This felt like a holdover to that, where they didn't make him more likable here because he's just coming off as hitting on Anne.
Right. But I mean, I guess that's just my opinion. Is I just already don't like him, so he comes off as I'm gonna take advantage of the situation and see if she's like into me to make, because he's probably done this before, where it was like this woman was in a relationship.
Yeah.
She was mad at the guy, so he's like,
that's
he's
what it
like,
came
well, I'm
off
gonna
as.
hit on her, and then she'll try to piss off the boyfriend or make him jealous by sleeping with him, and he's fine with that because he just wants a one night stand. Gross.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels gross.
Yeah, it made it feel a little bit like, yeah.
He's taking advantage, is all it felt like.
Andy sings The Pit. Oh, I fell into a pit.
You
fell into a pit. I kind of liked it. I will admit I looked it up after I watched the episode. I found it on YouTube. I fell into the pit.
We
and the
all
best part,
fell into the pit.
YouTube comments 99% of the time are the absolute doldrums of society. It is the pit of hell that is living in this world.
Sure.
Yeah, pretty much any
Just
comment
never read the
section.
comments.
But be sure to comment on our show. But the
won't read
comment
it.
sections, I'm not going to read it either. But 99% of the comments are just garbage dog shit. But I do like when you find the videos where the people kind of go along with it.
Oh, of course.
So like a lot of the comments were like,
That's
you know,
my
I
favorite
used
part.
to, I first saw Mouse Rat when they were actually called Three Skin, but I saw them back in 2004, and like those were like the kind of comments.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
A lot
the
of
way
the
to be.
A lot of videos that like Prime will put out for The Boys promotions, like the stuff where that's like in universe, where it'll be like a fake news report about Homelander or whatever. That's like what all the comments are always about, like, oh, like God bless Homeland. It's like always like they're like playing along. They do that. Yeah.
Thoughts and prayers for Homelander.
The song is very Andy Dwyer though, because it's just the same lyrics repeated over and over again. But like, hey, I mean, there's Bob Dylan and shit, and like folk music has done this shit all the time. Where you just repeat the same thing over and over again.
Exactly.
Leslie shows up just as the song ends, so she missed it. And Andy at the end just goes, "We are Scarecrow Boat." No, screw that. We are Mouse Rat. And that officially makes it the name of the band for the rest of the series. Tom is thrilled to see Leslie's date. He jims the camera.
In a Tom way.
Leslie-
That smile he does.
Doing the Tom. Yeah, you're right. He doesn't jim the camera. He toms the camera.
He toms the
'cause
camera.
Tom Haverford does this for the rest of the series too. Yeah.
It's great.
She says, she admits to it and is like, yes, this is George. He is my date. And Tom's like, hey, George, this is my wife, Wendy. She's my age.
I love that.
Anne wants to talk to Andy alone, but Andy is too smart. He knows what she's going to do.
Yes.
He's like, oh, yeah, well, let me just
Gotta
pack
clean
this
this up, and I
and
gotta, confer with the band. And
yeah, he knows what's in store for him, so
Oh,
he's going to
yeah.
delay it as much as humanly possible. In fact, he even says he doesn't know why she's upset, but she's too nice to yell at him while in
public.
front of all these people. So I'm not leaving this bar. Leslie comes over to say hi to Andy. She's like, oh, I'm so upset that I missed all of your songs. Maybe you guys could do like an encore or something. And he's like, yeah, why don't we do
that'd
that?
be great.
Like,
Let's take
hey,
everything back out
have
and set
everything
right back
out,
up.
yeah. And Anne is like, no, we're going to go home. We're going to go home. I like this joke from Andy where he says, oh, come on, Anne, she brought her dad. And points over to George.
Yes.
But Anne insists that they go home, and George falls asleep or is dead, according to Tom.
Yes.
Leslie wakes him up by saying his name, doing that like, George. He says he should head home. And they shake hands, and that's the end of the date. And he says that he tells the camera that he wouldn't go out with her again. No spark. But he had fun.
I'm glad he had a good time. Good for him.
Glad he had fun.
Good for him.
Yeah.
And nobody was embarrassed. Leslie let it happen.
Leslie just goes with the flow, man.
Yep.
Sometimes you have to.
Which is
Sometimes
fine.
on dates, you have to go with the flow.
Yeah. If he was creepy, I would have hoped that she would have stopped it. But he was a very safe individual, it feels like.
Yeah.
Just wanted to have a nice time.
Tom and Ron and their dates get into a cab, and they're like, where did Leslie meet that guy? Tom says that he's actually 22 or whatever. He's got Benjamin Button disease, which I feel like has just permeated pop culture as saying somebody is like Benjamin Buttoning. But I guarantee you most people have not seen that fucking
Probably
movie.
not. They just understand, they think of
What it means.
the concept
They know what the
of
reference
it.
is.
Right.
Yeah. Ron asks them all as they go into the cab, who wants to see me climb a tree? And they're like, yeah! And so I guess they're just leaving to go drink at a park or something.
Oh my god.
He does this thing that Ron Swanson does, or Nick Offerman does sometimes, which is he does the two hands together in triumph, the TJ Detweiler or the kids from Heavyweights. Yeah. And he does that, and Ron does that sometimes. I like that little idiosyncrasy
personality trait.
he
Yeah,
gives the character.
I like it. It's good.
Leslie's gonna leave, but Mark is like, "No, why don't you come have a beer with me?" Because he's like all like upset and like lonely.
Yeah.
This next part is not in the TV cut, and I think it should have stayed in. Because Mark is talking about how when he got into this like city planning and design, he thought he was going to be like making downtown areas and designing parks and designing schools and all this kind of stuff.
Making beautiful things in cities.
Yeah. And all he gets to do is the speed bump.
Yep.
He's upset about that too, so that comes back. That's not in the original TV cut, but that informs what they end up talking about later, because as they're drinking, Leslie's like, design the park for me. So then it makes more sense because she's like letting him do
the design.
what he's told
passion.
her, like, that's what I want to do. So like they should have left that in the TV cut. I'm glad it's in the director's cut. That's why you have DVDs and Blu-rays, or in this case Peacock, so that you have the original intention of like what this should have been.
Yeah, I agree.
I like that, how that comes back, and I like that it gives Mark a little bit of a little bit of dimension.
A little bit of dimension, yes. Instead of just being
we
a
know
scuzzbag.
Rachel does not like Mark Brandanawicz.
Right.
As I said on the last episode, Rachel, every time she sees him, she's just like, where the fuck is Adam Scott? Where the fuck is Rob Lowe? And where is Adam Scott?
Preferred characters, yes. Absolutely. I mean, you have to have a hateable character, I guess, in shows and stuff. You know, a very punchable.
I don't know if they
fit character.
I don't
face.
know if that's what they want.
How is
out
that
of
not
this
what they
character.
wanted? How is that not what they wanted? He just comes across that he's so punchable. I just want to slap that man.
I don't know if that was what they thought they were making, though.
I guess that's fair.
And this was giving him a little bit of sympathy.
Yes.
Like he's learning. He's growing. This is supposed to be showing him growing. This last 2 episodes where he decides that Leslie and Anne are actually better suited for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then he just wants to get in their pants again. That's like that's his whole deal. It's just...
Leslie is talking about how there's a lot of similarities between the times they were drinking. They were at a bar. So, you know.
Very similar.
Same thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mark asks for some beers to go.
Mm-hmm.
Is that allowed? In Indiana, maybe?
I don't know. Maybe in some places it could be.
It feels like a thing that you're not allowed to take a beer
most
to
of the time, places have it where it's like alcohol cannot go beyond this threshold.
Yeah, like you're not allowed to leave the place with a beer in hand.
Especially
like, you have
open.
to drink it there.
Right, it would have to be closed.
And like the bartender like has to open it for you. Like you are not allowed to open it yourself.
Right.
At least that's what I've
always gotten from these things. Look, I know nothing.
Leslie and Mark go and drink at the Pit. They're drunk at this point.
Yes.
And he's like, do you think I could throw this beer bottle in that shopping cart? And he goes and he tries to throw it and hit the shopping cart, but he misses, and they're laughing about this. Apparently, this was all improvised. Amy Poehler's laughs are genuine.
Which
but
they
she's also very
sound
good at
genuine.
playing
I
drunk.
like the laughter.
Yeah, it sounds more genuine that Amy Poehler laughed.
Yes.
Definitely. Anne and Andy are arguing. I thought that this sounded like a real couple's argument, too. They do a really good job of framing or just the dialogue or the way that the two of them are interacting.
The body
it sounded like a real
language.
argument.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to
Yes.
exactly pinpoint that. Just the way that the two of them are talking to each other. And it's like, because Anne will say something and Annie will be like, oh, what do you mean? Oh, so what? Like, and then Anne like explains it. And it's like the way that the timbre of their voices like go up and down as they like try to emphasize stuff. It just
Right.
sounded like a real couple's argument
Yes.
for this comedy show. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, it
No, it did.
felt real.
Were you
And
talking to a
he's-
buffoon who's trying to manipulate the conversation? Yes.
Yes, he's trying to gaslight her as well. He says that it's the doctor that's actually lying. And she's like, really? The doctor would lie? Why would the doctor lie about that? And he's like, to make more money.
Well, let me call him. Let me see if that's true. No, don't call him. Don't call him.
Don't call him. Don't call him now. Don't
It's
call him now. It's too
late.
late. Come on. Don't call him now. Then he finally admits it.
Yes.
And he's like,
I liked having you do it.
Mhm. And she kicks him out.
Yes. It was an immediate get out of my house. I got to think about this relationship.
And he has nowhere to go. So he's going to...
Well, she was like, go take a walk. I want to think by myself.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Leslie and Mark
Him
are
coming,
talking about
well,
how...
hold on, because him coming out of the house and staring straight into the camera was hilarious to me. Like, the look on his face was great. I thought it was great.
Yes. I agree.
I don't know if it was just because he's like, oh, you guys were listening, or if it was just like he's befuddled as to what to do now, or
I think
both.
it's both.
Yeah.
I think it's both because the camera, which again, if you take my and your interpretation of it, is the Greek chorus, the audience was outside of the house.
And we were listening
Which
in.
makes even more sense because, like, why would they be wearing their microphones to be able to listen in?
Yes.
To this? They would have taken the mics off.
Right.
So it makes more sense that it's a Greek chorus. But he didn't think that us as an audience got to see that.
Right.
So then he's like, oh, shit, you guys caught all that. And then he's also like, I don't know what to do because I'm Andy Dwyer. So he's just staring into nothingness, like,
Yes.
now what?
And then he tries to make himself look better by being like, I won't give up on us, Anne. I won't leave. And then he, like, winks at us.
Yeah.
Like, I got this. Don't you worry.
Yeah.
I'll fix
Yeah,
this.
she'll be fine. She's fine with
And
this.
it's just, it was just that connection between, like, looking straight at us and thus that look on his face just got me. I thought it was hilarious.
Leslie and Mark, meanwhile, are laughing about how the pit is already a park. What's not to love about the way that it is now? And Mark's like saying, like, you know, you got duck glass.
Yeah,
and
there's a dirt slide.
yeah, and all this stuff. And he's like, I really wish that we could turn it into a pit. And Leslie says, but honestly, seriously, Mark, like,
Do you think it's
can
gonna
this
happen?
become a park?
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, all right. And he actually is like, I'm going to be honest with you, Leslie. It's a long uphill battle. There's a sea of red tape. There's going to be people that want you to fail. There's going to be a ton of roadblocks. And she takes a second and she goes, screw it, I'm going to try to do it anyway.
Yes, which feels so Leslie.
Yeah.
It feels
absolutely.
so her to be like, it's going to be a huge difficulty. And she's just like, I have to do it
Bring it
anyways.
on.
Bring it on. I've got this.
And Mark says that he admires her tenacity. And she's like, I admire your... But she can't think of, like, what she wants to say. And it's just building to the old typical storytelling trope of waiting for the awkward silence so the kiss can come. As Jerry Seinfeld would tell you, there was never any spark. There was never any awkward silence for us to, you know, to start making out or whatever.
Sure.
But they kissed during the awkward silence.
Yes.
I was thinking about this, Rachel, and I was thinking that in a future season, we would cut then to Ron and Tom to see what they were doing. But because they're not the main characters of this first season,
Where Ron
we don't
was
see what they're doing.
Or the end scene was Ron up in the tree and them all cheering.
Ron up in the tree.
And they're all just cheering because he climbed the tree.
Yes.
That's all I would have wanted to
That would have
see.
been funny.
That's it.
Yeah. That would have been funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just Ron doing
Ron
this
up in the tree, just shaking his fists. Yeah, it would have been great.
Andy walks towards the park, sees them
Pit.
kissing.
The park pit. Pit
You're
park.
right. I wrote park, and it is, it walks towards the pit. Sees them kissing. It zooms in so that you can see them kissing, and he Jim Halperts that camera.
Absolutely does.
Leslie doesn't want to do it. She backs off, and she's like, you know what? I don't want it to happen this way or whatever. Mark, being Mark, says, oh, it's not really that big of a deal.
It's not that big of a deal. What a weird thing to say.
What an odd thing to say. He doesn't fight with her about it.
He's not pushy, but it was just the way he said it's not a big deal.
Yeah. Well, because he thinks that having these little one night stands with her is not a big deal, and she does. She has too many feelings for him.
Yes, he's a one night stand guy. She is not a one night stand woman. It's just not her thing.
read some of the reviews that said that they like this one because she finally gets over her infatuation with Mark.
I like that.
That people think that she finally gets over it. And I think that might be...
because she stopped herself.
Why she can't come up with something that she admires about him.
Oh. Ooh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That she was just like, I admire, and then went, what? Wait, what do
I
admire about you?
You?
What actually is making me like you?
Yeah, there really isn't anything that I like about you.
Right.
So, maybe
that's
maybe
interesting.
she did get the...
I kind of like that.
It's a good show. See, it's a good show. No, maybe that's what they were going for.
I kind of like it.
Sometimes these hack screenwriters in Hollywood can do these things intentionally and be clever. And sometimes we just let them
kind of fall into it.
We just give it to them for them, and are like, "Hey, we think too much about it."
Of course.
Mark gets up to leave and stumbles into the pit and falls backward into it.
It
like
actually
Leslie or
looked
Andy
like
before
it
him.
hurt. He tumbles backwards.
Yeah, he does somersault. It looks like he hyperextends something.
Ooh.
Definitely.
Oof.
The camera catches him in pain. Andy is in hysterics seeing this.
He's
and
laughing.
goes back to...
Not hysterics of, oh my god. It's hysterics of, he fell in the pit.
Yeah. And it's Mark and Andy. And Andy already has opinions of Mark.
Yes.
So
he does. He doesn't like Mark either.
Yeah. So he thinks that it's hilarious. He runs back and he tells Anne that, hey, that guy Mark fell in the pit.
And you're
might
a nurse.
Need your help.
You need to help him.
So
and she does. She grabs her
a first aid kit.
Yes, immediately grabs a first aid kit. Well, I mean,
Anne
that's
is decent.
Yes, she's a decent human being, and she's just that's her first responder mentality of yes, of course. Hold on, let me go see what happened.
So she runs out. And what does Andy do, Rachel?
Turns on the TV, jumps on the couch, and starts eating
food.
Jumps
on the couch.
He's smiling, and he's
just
so
believing
happy
that this is going to distract Anne, and she's not going to remember that she was mad at me.
Right.
Yeah. I thought that ending was, we fell into the pit, plays over the ending credits, and that's the end of the season. I thought that it was a cynical version of because when you think about Parks and Rec season endings, they're always this uplifting, optimistic,
typically
hopeful
for the future.
We're all gonna make a better, brighter future.
I guess
up until the last episode, this was not that.
Here's my argument.
All right,
Leslie being told it's gonna be hard, and her still feeling powerful and saying, "I'm doing it anyways." That strength. Of looking to the future, even though it's going to be a struggle. I feel like that's a hopeful feeling for her. And if we're going to go with the fact that she is getting over douche nozzle, right? We're going to pretend she's getting what is his name? All of a sudden his name is
Mark Brandanawicz.
Mark Brandanawicz. If she's going to get over Mark Brandanawicz, she realizes that she doesn't actually like him. I feel like that's another thing. That's hey, you moved on. This is good for you and your character. She's growing. Yeah. So that's also a hopeful feeling. Now, mind you, Andy running in and jumping on the couch, that's a little cynical, where she's trapped with him and stuck with him. That feels cynical. But I feel like the stuff with Leslie is a little bit more hopeful.
That's a problem for Anne throughout most of the series, though, with the boyfriends, like we've said. So.
Yeah. Little mistakes.
But mostly has horrible taste in men.
Right, yes.
But that is the end of Rock Show. Rachel, what did you think about Rock Show?
I enjoyed this one a lot. I love how the characters are showing themselves and interacting with each other. I love Mouse Rat, and the goofiness of it is just fun because it's also good and not just a really crappy band. I feel like that's a nice take on it. I really like how Leslie is growing, and you can see how she's growing even with that date she was on, like we were talking about, where she's not just this pushover. She's not the butt of the joke. She's not the butt of the joke. She's actually intelligent. She sees what's going on, but she's just kind of like, I can handle this. Yeah, so I like all of that. I like how all of that came together in this episode.
As we talked about it, this is one of those instances. Oh, I do have to. I'm gonna bring something up here.
Okay.
I almost thought about bringing it up in our 2024 year in review to explain why I like certain shows or certain things click. When certain things click, I was wondering if they wanted us to get butterflies from Mark and Leslie kissing, like you would with a Jim and Pam.
Interesting.
Now, I don't think that you were supposed to.
I
think you are now, but that's because of our interpretation now, where it's like is Leslie getting over?
Oh, sure,
Mark. So you're supposed to almost feel glad that she doesn't.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Like they go in for the kiss, and I almost felt disappointed. Like, oh, come on, Leslie. Like, don't go into this again. He's a jerk.
There's something that I'm going to term that we will use throughout our journey of shelf life.
Okay.
We'll call it the roommate giddiness factor.
Okay.
In college.
Okay.
My roommate, who I love, but the two of us would have, he's one of my best friends. Him and I, but just friend. He has a wife and children.
that's
a
true.
Woman.
A woman wife.
I don't have a wife, but if I did, it would be a woman. That's from something too, and I can't remember what it is.
It feels like it should be if it's not.
Him and I had similar tastes in things, in television in particular. When it came to movies, he liked different things, and I would always roll my eyes because he would get invested in the characters.
Oh, sure.
If we were watching a television show or a movie, and I was more jaded back then. I'm a lot more of a softie now. I would roll my eyes a little bit. When he would get invested, I can picture him doing this. He had like a gaming chair that was like one of those floor gaming chairs. So I can picture me on the couch, like laying on the couch with my laptop, and him sitting on the floor in the gaming chair and us watching TV. Something would happen that the characters would do that he would love, and he would go... He would do the Ron Swanson giggle.
Oh my
God. He would
God.
giggle. He would get giddy about it.
Okay.
So the roommate giddiness factor, the RGF rating, to give you an example, I know when they got me hooked, when I get that, I don't do the Ron Swanson giggle. I don't do the about it.
Yeah.
But I feel in my stomach like, oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck. I always think after I say that, fuck, they got me. Those sons of bitches got me. I'm going to like this fucking show.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah.
It happened with The Boys with Starlight and Huey.
Sure.
The most recent one, to give you an example, was, we talked about it, Hysteria.
Okay.
With the guy with the kids in that one.
Okay, yeah.
When the blonde girl that's
yes.
like into the Satanism stuff, like I can't remember any of their names
that's
now,
fine.
but like when the blonde girl asks him out or like shows that he's into her, and I'm like, oh my God, I feel so happy for this kid, and I'm like, fuck,
I'm into it.
Got me. Yeah, like now I'm into this show.
No, I understand that.
The roommate giddiness factor, I want to use that going forward as like a metric of like, when did it click for you? When does the spark happen where you're like,
sure.
oh crap, I'm like into these characters
now. Yeah, absolutely. And I know that happens to me a lot. I'm a bit of a romantic. I do like the romance pieces or like the rooting for somebody kind of piece as well.
Yes. Yeah, it's rooting for someone, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I totally understand what you're talking about. And I know I am a victim of this. In many things.
I just always remember it, and I always think about him when I do it, because I'm
sure.
like, that would have been a moment where I do feel like after we talked, they didn't want, because I made a note about it where I was like, I didn't get the roommate giddiness feeling.
Yeah.
And if they wanted you to, they did not accomplish their mission.
Right.
But now that we've kind of talked about it, it's like maybe you weren't supposed to. Maybe you are supposed to feel happy that she's gotten over Mark.
Right.
But,
I like
but
that.
overall, it was a solid episode. I think you're right. But we are gonna we'll talk about. I've got some more thoughts about that as we go through our rankings. Because Rachel, we have come.
Oh boy,
to that
I hate
time.
the rankings.
We've been making you rank a lot.
I
too,
know,
this
and it's
volume.
killing me.
This is the third television show that we've covered on Volume 5. See the back catalog, folks. Doctor Who and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Rachel, let's pull it up.
I feel
It's
like Dr. Who
time
is
to
easier.
rank. I'm going to disclaim this as we go through the rankings of these 6. This season felt a lot to me like when we did Seinfeld season 1,
Okay.
where it's like, okay, none of these are like awful, but none of these are great. And they're pretty interchangeable, and I don't know how to rank them, and you could probably do it in any way, shape, or form or order.
Sure.
Because as we always say, Rachel, these rankings are meaningless.
That's right. We rank everything, and they don't matter. How did I
If
say
you
that for
asked me-
Doctor Who? Because I really liked how I said
You
it.
did.
For who's
how you
because I
said
wanted
that?
it to sound like whose line is it anyways? Like
Yeah.
we give you the rankings, and they don't even matter. It's
Yeah.
like.
But if you ask me tomorrow, that they could change, but this is what I feel today.
Sure.
Okay, so we're going to start with number 6. I'll start with my number 6. My number 6 is Boys Club, the 4th episode. I thought it felt a little too officey.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I can see what you
that
mean.
there was a lot of it that didn't work necessarily for me in this one. It wasn't terrible. Again, it feels like Seinfeld season 1, where it's like these aren't the worst episodes.
They just aren't
probably.
strong.
They're just not very strong. The best part of this was Ron showing that he actually cared
Yes.
a bit, because he kind of like defends Leslie, and not just in the way that he just wants to be out of the meeting, of the disciplinary meeting, but that he also defends Leslie and defends who she is and what she stands for, even though he disagrees with it. That's the best part of it, but overall it didn't click for me as much just as a comedy. So
Right.
it's at the bottom of the list for me.
Yeah. I feel like it had its moments. I guess I should say it's also I put it at 6 for me too. And I think it's just because it had its moments. And I feel like I was the side
Ron and Leslie at the
Right.
disciplinary hearing is good, but the rest of the episode,
the rest
I don't
of it
think
just
is as strong.
it didn't
It's a
feel
little
very
too cringy
strong.
office
It was
humor.
a little cringy, and then I felt like the side stories, it was so disconnected. It was very disconnected, and like I like how Andy was being Andy in this, and like the weird crap he was
The
doing.
bath.
Yes, it was very silly and like was
Maybe-
actually trying
You
to be
know,
a good guy and
the more
clean
we
it
talk
up.
about this, the more I wonder if we need to move this from 6 to 5 for me. Rachel, can you make this one 5 for me? Yeah,
I don't
let's go
know.
with that. Let's go with that.
I'm not sure where I want to put it. So I feel like my bottom 3 are a little interchangeable, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
And then like my top 3 are probably, well, no, my top 2 are interchangeable. But this one just felt so disconnected to me. But it had its moments that were enjoyable.
Yeah. So 6-5. I'm gonna stick with it at 5. Like thinking back to it. So I'm changing my. Ladies and gentlemen, we are changing the rankings. Rachel, what's your number 5?
I put number 5 as the pilot episode. They didn't feel like them yet. So like their characters felt a little off.
Yeah.
Obviously it's a pilot episode, so you have to start somewhere, and it has to bring you into it, and it has to establish everything. But the establishment of it was a little light because they weren't actually the characters they were going to be yet. So it just felt like it didn't know who it was yet already. And I was just like, you weakened.
For me,
it was weakened for me.
I think it falls below. I just changed the ranking
did.
because of the pacing, I think.
Right.
Because when I was
Yes,
thinking
it
about
was-
the
it was
2
slow.
episodes, the pacing was just too slow for Parks and Rec.
Right.
It works for The Office or for, like, not even Modern Family. Modern Family's faster than The Office, but it was just too slow for Parks and Rec. And it's very simple. It's just a very simple episode to get you in and make you understand who these people are in 22 minutes. So it just works as a pilot, but it isn't. it isn't much more than that. So that's why I made the flip, just because when I was thinking about it, Boys Club, with like Andy running down the street naked and the Leslie Ron scene, it's like, okay, that elevates it over the pilot.
You're making me feel like I have to change mine. This is the problem with rankings. I hate rankings. I hate them.
Well, we can agree that those two are like the bottom tier.
I feel like it. Yes.
Yeah. Then your middle tier, my number 4.
Yes, I think this is the perfect way to say it. We have 3 tiers.
Yeah. My middle tier at number 4 is canvassing, which has its moments as well. I do think that it has some funny stuff in it with the way that the town interacts with Leslie at the...
No, I think the dynamic of the town and the Parks and Rec department and how they actually go together and like communicate was what made it go a little elevated for me.
Yeah. Well, and I like her doing the filibustering her own meeting and all of that stuff. It does work. It's just that it's still kind of like learning.
Yes.
And so there, I thought, looking back on it too, that you were seeing some ways where the character grows throughout the series, and we were probably putting that into it versus what they were actually intending. It does work a little bit, but it is cynical. It is, and this one's very cynical.
It is.
I thought it was okay. Rachel, you're number 4.
My number 4 was The Reporter.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very Mark Brandanawicz episode. I think that's what was
very Mark Brandanawicz episode of Shelf
And
Life.
because he's just such I'm
gonna put that as when we say, in a very Mark Brandanawicz episode of Shelf Life. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. It was just one of those where I was just kept scoffing at it. Like, great. Like, this is, like, of course this is happening. And I just felt kind of bad for Leslie because she was so blinded by what he was doing to her the whole time. So it was just kind of one of those episodes that it didn't...
do it for you.
It didn't do it for me. But I mean, it did give me some dynamics through like the relationships with the characters and all of that. So of course it was like, interesting and building and all of that too. But
I actually thought that they were finding their way a little bit better.
Okay.
There is that terrible B story. I had this one at number 3.
Oh, okay.
There is that terrible B story with the Scrabble.
Tier 2.
Where they could, again, interchangeable, pretty much. This is just my second rank, put them wherever you want. That's the second tier. That Scrabble stuff was happening, and it was like they could have done so much more with this, and they didn't.
Right.
And it's like,
yes.
It just feels like they had ideas, but they don't know how to execute them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it gets bumped up for me because Shauna is cute, but
of course it does. Of course it does.
Just saying it to make Rachel roll her eyes.
And it worked.
I liked some of the ways that Anne stands up for Leslie a bit, though. We get Ron talking about Tammy and
the character dynamic is what was like good.
The jokes work better in this one too than canvassing and pilot, I think, probably. So for me, it kind of gets elevated a little bit there. But it is my middle tier, and it could probably be interchangeable with canvassing.
And
my number
same
2,
with me. Number 3 was canvassing, and we kind of already talked about that. So.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Because I was like, it's kind of all of that put together. We kind of talked about how it just wasn't. It didn't get there yet. That slowness just wasn't there yet. Go on. Number 2.
Number 2 is Rock Show. I thought structurally and technically, it is the best episode. If we are looking at it from a structure standpoint, a technical standpoint, and a character standpoint writing, it is the best episode.
Yes.
I understand that. I can see. I understand when things are good, but sometimes I like things that are worse than the good things.
Sure, that's fine.
It's the most solid episode from a dialogue and the way that the characters are interacting, and I think that they're starting to put it together and understand what these characters are. We talked about the last 2 episodes where there's more improv. The actors are coming up with ideas for the characters, and those things stick. So all of that kind of works. But I think the Banquet is funnier. So I have the Banquet at 1 because I like the jokes more in the Banquet.
Sure.
Sue me, I'm not made of stone. So I have the Banquet at number 1 because I like the.
It's a comedy.
Like
You're supposed to enjoy the jokes.
I like the jokes in The Banquet more. I know that Leslie's more the butt of the joke in that one, but I like the jokes. I like the going around the table joke of all of the evil people. I like Ron with the shrimp.
Absolutely.
I like Anne saying,
joke
am I the only...
will elevate an episode to the top immediately.
Tom and stuff. So I've got The Banquet at number 1, but I do completely understand, especially after you and I analyzed it.
Yes.
Of the Rock Show is the better
Which is where I have it.
Episode. Yes.
I put Rock Show as number 1 and The Banquet too, just because of how solid I thought it was, like you were saying. I thought it was a solid episode. It definitely showed what Parks and Rec is a bit more. It shows who the characters are a lot more. But yeah, The Banquet is funny, so of course it's my number 2. Of course.
Yeah, so that's the top tier of season 1 of Parks and Rec.
Honestly, now, I'm gonna tell you right now, I almost just went, let's go 1 at the last episode and then just go backwards. That's literally what I was about to do. And then I was like, let me put a little bit more thought into this. Yeah. But yeah, I almost did that.
You could kind of do it that way just because they're learning almost as they go with these, so it kind of works that way. And it, like I said, it's Seinfeld season 1 where it's like you could probably go back and I'd have a completely different opinion on all of them. But yeah, that's how it kind of works out. Banquet and Rock Show are the top tier, your middle tier being Canvassing and The Reporter, and your bottom tier being Pilot and Boys Club. But, you know, that is what it is. If we were to do this, Rachel, like as we do more seasons going forward, one of my favorite podcasts is Seinfeld. It was a Seinfeld podcast where they went through all 180 episodes of Seinfeld. And after a while, they ended up getting, you know, the further they went in, they kept a spreadsheet of their top 20 episodes of Seinfeld. And they would rank the episodes as a series, but then they would also give their top 5 and bottom 5 for the season. So kind of like us, but they were very focused on Seinfeld. Right. And Clue. They love the movie Clue.
I love Clue.
Like
when
us.
When can we do Clue? I love Clue.
We'll do it one day. So... to me, I feel like if we were to get to like season 4 of Parks and Rec, none of these 6 episodes would be in like our top 20 by that point.
Probably not. Yeah. I see what you're saying. So like you're going to put up to that point your tops.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Probably not.
So, like they would fall off. They would fall off the top 20.
Yeah.
So we can decide if we want to do that as we go through the seasons, because it would kind of make sense to be like, here are the episodes that definitely have shelf life if you just get the episodes. If you're going to do that, are you going to get the whole season? Well, if you're going to do that, are you going to get the whole series? Mm-hmm. Which brings me to this question to you, Rachel, because it is that time where I will ask you, does Parks and Recreation Season 1 have shelf life? This is hard. This is actually hard. And I can go first if you want me to.
Can you go first, please?
I'll
I
kind
can
of
think
first.
A little bit.
I'm gonna kind of go first, and I probably won't articulate it or come up with a good conclusion.
That's fine.
Speaking of Seinfeld. So here's the thing. I feel a lot about this like I feel about Seinfeld season 1. Mm-hmm. If you've not seen Parks and Rec, I wouldn't say skip the first season like some people say. I think that you can gain a lot from this first season.
Right.
When it comes to the overarching storyline of the pit, when
Absolutely.
It comes to Leslie and Ron's relationship, when it comes to Leslie and Anne's relationship.
Andy
I don't
and
think
anybody's
Andy is
relationship. But
well, I don't think Andy is quite right, and I do
Not
think that
yet.
that
At the
diminishes his character.
Sure. The last couple episodes, I feel like he was coming into it a little bit more.
A little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But he's still kind of a jerk boyfriend that he just kind of like goes on the couch at the end.
Yes, that's true. Very true. He hasn't learned anything
But I do
yet.
think, right, the pacing is off if you haven't seen this first season. It does feel too much like the other NBC show. She does feel incompetent more than naive, but it grows, and you can see a turning as the thing develops.
Right.
So I wouldn't say skip this if you haven't seen it. If you're doing a full rewatch of Parks and Recreation, I could see someone being like, I don't need to see the ones from season 1. I know what happens.
Right.
And that's where I would say as a season by itself, it doesn't have shelf life. However, I would say as part of the series as a whole, you wouldn't want to leave this out of the collection. You want to have this there to show someone that hasn't seen it, or if there are parts of it that you want to rewatch.
Right, there's those
want
moments
it
you
to
want
be
to
there.
see. Mm-hmm.
But as a season by itself, it doesn't have to be rewatched. It doesn't have to be on the shelf. But as part of the entire series, you're going to include this. It's not like it's a throwaway. It's not like one of those seasons of Lost where people are like, what the fuck was that? And just forget it, throw it away. This is not something where you have to throw it away. I do think that it builds on it. I just don't know if you would go back and rewatch it a lot. So it's a halfy answer for me. But if we're talking about just the season by itself, I would say no. Include it as part of the series having shelf life if you deem the series to have shelf life, which we'll tell you when I'm 58 years old.
Okay, so for me, I agree with you. I do think it's one of those that if it's a comeback and a rewatch, it's unnecessary to watch them. But if you want those moments, I feel like having it available is a nice thing. So I might put this on the stream it shelf. So I have it streamable, but it's not necessarily something I have to have if the power is out. Or like if I don't have internet and I need to put something on, I probably don't need season 1. So I'm going to put it on the stream it shelf versus
it's
physical.
there, but you don't really need it.
It's there, yeah. So if I want to watch those moments or I want to go back and remember how the story is, because I agree. I feel like forgetting the arch, forgetting everything established, you do need the season 1. You would want to watch that at least once. But coming back to it's kind of like, it's a little weak, so you probably could skip it.
If NBC and Peacock were to say, we're not going to have this stream anywhere anymore, would you go get season 1?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's just also because I'm a completionist and I would want the series.
Right. And that's what I'm saying, where it's like if you want the whole series, you're not just going to be like, to hell with season 1.
Right.
You're going to include it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like The Simpsons where you're like, I need to get 36 of these damn things. Like,
Lord, yes, right.
No, if you're doing that, you're going to throw out some of the seasons.
Yes,
I don't
agree
think you
with
need
that.
to throw this one out.
No, I don't think it needs to be thrown away. It shouldn't be thrown away and forgotten.
I can kind of prove that by the fact that I have the DVDs. I have the entire series on DVD. I have thought about forever if I'm going to get the series on Blu-ray, because they sometimes put it on sale. And I probably will do it. And it's going to be stupid, because it's going to be like, you already have this, Kevin. And it's like, yeah, I know, but I'm an idiot.
You're just trying to stay up to date with technology. It's all right. It's okay. Good.
Rachel, if that Seinfeld on 4K goes on sale enough for me one day, I'm gonna fucking do it.
I know.
He's so stupid.
Yeah.
So that was Parks and Recreation Season 1. Rachel, cross it off the list. It's kind of on the shelf as part of the whole of the series.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we have only a few more subjects left in Volume 5, and it is time for another subcommittee meeting. So before Rachel and I are late, we are going to go head over to that, and we will continue our journey here at Shelf Life. Until next time, I have been Kevin.
And I'm Rachel.
And this has been the subcommittee to be on the committee to listen to if we are going to include Parks and Recreation on the list. Until next time, we will see you later.
We were Teddy Bear Suicide, but then we changed it to Mouse Rat. Then we were God Hates Figs, Two Doors Down, Department of Homeland Obscurity. Then we were Three Skin, Just the Tip, Flames for Flames, Muscle Confusion, Nothing Rhymes with Orange, then Everything Rhymes with Orange, Andy Dwyer Experience, AD and the D-Bags, the Andy's, Radwagon, Five Skin, Four Skin, Nothing Rhymes with Belorange, Death of a Scam Artist, Razor Dick, Puppy Pendulum, Awesome Pendulum, Penis Pendulum, Handrail Suicide, Angel Snack, Jet Black Pope, Punch Face Champions, Ninja Dick. We went back to Mouse Rat, and now we are Scarecrow Boat. God, when I hear myself say Scarecrow Boat out loud, I kind of hate it.